What's up, guys? Welcome back to another Thursday night live stream. We're gonna have a good night tonight. We've got some fun pours, some new bottles, some samples, some old samples that I'm gonna revisit just briefly based on some recent videos here on the channel. I didn't even put this in the title because I did this recently a couple times already. Some more laser code fun, but this time it has to do with things that are definitively different batches, so there's no controversy, right? No one's gonna get on the internet and get upset. This is stuff that is definitively different. Russell's 10-year, David Jennings, Rarebird 101's been talking about some of the laser codes for these batches, and it's interesting. So we're gonna talk about that. We're gonna do a little comparison. We've got the Rare Character Limited Batch 1. We've got this very special bottle, probably the coolest thing on the table, the River Roots 18-year. So only like 170 or so bottles of this in existence. Came out of a stainless steel tank, 5 short barrels dumped into a stainless tank last year. So they stopped it aging at 18. River Roots got a hold of this one singular tank. That stuff's long gone. It's probably going to be hitting secondary soon for an exorbitant amount of money. But we'll talk about that. Sample giveaway tonight, which is going to be great. We're going to include, you can see a list of the samples in the description of the video, but it's going to include the Rare Character, the River Roots 18. You can do your own laser code challenge. I'll send them blind, these 2 laser code things with Russell's 10, and you can do it for yourself, or if you don't want to do it blind, I'll put the key in the box, the answer key, and you can kind of do that. We also have this, which is the 70th anniversary Jimmy Russell 8-year 101 bottle. Here's kind of an interesting one, you know, kind of an everyday, I think it's $65 or something. New expression from Angel's Envy, Triple Oak. So we'll take a look at the Triple Oak tonight. I didn't really plan on putting this in the giveaway, but I guess I probably should. So it's like, even if it's good, even if it's bad, you should still probably try it if you win the giveaway to understand whether or not you like it. And there's room for more samples in those boxes. I can fit up to 12. So maybe we'll throw that in there. Why not? And then we're also going to go through some barrel picks that are dropping tomorrow. I don't like to do a bunch of barrel pick content on the channel. You know, it's like the Patreon is there for a reason, and we talk about all of our picks over in the Patreon, which has been growing so incredibly well. I don't like to do too much on the live streams and plug too much, because then it just becomes a sales ad. You know what I mean? Use code CAM. I'm just kidding. But we're going to go through the 3 Driftless Glen try to say that. We'll try that again. We're going to go through the 3 Driftless Glen picks that are dropping tomorrow, one of which is already gone. It was a short barrel of 22 bottles, which is incredible. I bought all 22 of those bottles because I'm going to split those into 8 ounces, like little, samples, and send those out to everybody in the top tier and on the pick team, at a lower cost. So it's a great way for everybody to try these short barrels. It's a little unsatisfying that we don't all get a bottle, but I want to pick those kind of whiskeys when I can. So I'll taste that tonight. I'll taste the bourbon and the rye that are dropping tomorrow as well. About 120 to 130 bottles of each of those. And so samples of all of those, including the short barrel. So for those of you, who aren't in that top tier or on the pick team, I'm going to throw a sample of the short barrel in both of these sample packs. So 2 winners tonight for the, for the sample packs and all that. And I think that's it. We're also going to do a blind flight at the end of this live stream. So Justin Potts, thank you, dude. I haven't texted you back. I took a nap on the couch and I woke up in a panic, and I've been rushing around since then to try to get ready. We've got a four sample blind. Sarah wrote cards for the blind right here just before the stream started. So that's going to be something we do at some point tonight as well. So I think that's it. Every $5 in Super Chats will get you, 1 entry into the giveaway. I'll keep track of the giveaway entries tonight. Venmo, PayPal, always an option if you want to bypass YouTube's 30% cut right off the top. Those are in the description of this video. The description of the video was updated just before the stream started, so if it looks blank to you, just refresh the page and it should appear. So there we go. I got to get started. I have had nothing to drink. In fact, I've been almost entirely dry since Sunday. I had a couple of sips last night. Why did I have a couple sips last night? I think something showed up. Oh, the River Roots 18 showed up. Yeah, when that showed up, I'm like, we're cracking this. We're going to get right into it, But I'm going to start off. Again, Tony Bag of Donuts, thanks for the sample, man. As usual, Eagle Rare store pick. But we're diving back into the Bourbon Junkies Eagle Rare store pick to kick things off this evening. So let me know what's in your glass, guys. Hit that like button on your way in, please. We are very close to 10,000 subscribers. I know that's not a lot in the grand scheme of things when, all of the big whiskey tubers have, 50, 60, 100K. But 10K, pretty big deal for Drums and Drams. So cheers to that, guys. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, especially those of you, finding this live stream and watching the replay. All right. So let me see what's been going on here in the chat. Steve Parker. Cameron, you have been crazy busy, but was wondering if you had time to think about the golden ticket idea, a tier below 25. It's a one-time top-tier drop purchase in a calendar year. Steve, man, as much as I'd love to do something like that, that would make a lot of people in whatever tier that is happy, probably, maybe, depends on what it is. But it would really piss off the people in the $25 or the $50 tier, and rightfully so, because they're paying, they're paying money for that access, among other things. But there's just no way to do that feels fair to me. And interestingly enough, what I'll say is the $10 tier decently purchases picks. I mean, percentage-wise, I guess it's decent, but there's so many people in the $10 tier, and we don't sell a lot of picks in that tier. And the $5 tier, almost nobody buys. So, I think the $5 tier, if you did that, you would still only sell a marginally higher number of bottles, and then all it does is just probably piss people off in the upper tiers. So, as much as I like that idea, if we had, if we could like somehow have higher yields of some of these allocated things, it'd be great. But what's up, Travis? Good to see you, man. Sugar Kitty, Copper Wolf, Joe Dickinson. Avery's kind of kicking off same vein as me here with some Hancocks, some low-proof BT. Late is the hour for this conjure of barrel picks. That's so funny. Yes, Steve, that's amazing. Jeremy, good to see you, dude. Avery, no, I don't. I'm always just rushing. Like today, I was when I had the this will begin soon sign up. I'm like desperately doing things on my phone and computer to get ready. Jason, dang, I was shooting for 9:05. Good to see you guys. Pink Dan, Cam, you son of a bitch. The short king is bonkers. Good. Yeah. So guys, this pick dropped, I guess 2 weeks ago. The new and mine, quality control at Evernorth is pretty weak these days. We got nothing going on down there, and no sticker on the back, which Bourbon Outfitter and Evernorth conspired on this one, I think. I'm just kidding, but we got this new 9-year American, which this experimental barrel, just I think a really solid one, and great feedback on this, which I'm excited about. All right, 21090's here, Toshi's here, Sugar Kitty, Phil, Tom. Thanks for being here, everybody. Guy, good to see you, dude. Guy, you're the main man tonight with this Russell's 10. I can't wait to get into it. All right, so I'm going to grab a few Venmo Super Chats right off the bat because I don't want to get too far behind. So we're going to lead off with a pretty huge one here. In Toshi fashion. Toshi's coming in hot with 20 freaking entries. So thank you, man. Cheers. Guys, hit that like button on your way in. I see we're getting a few more folks in here tonight. Thank you, Toshi. He says, Cam livestream, LFG. Cheers, man. Thank you, dude. Good Lord. And Jason Heineman in for 4. Thank you, man. He says super chat. All right. Appreciate you guys. Avery Piper. Cam, what are your thoughts on the 70th Wild Turkey versus Turkey 101? I'll give you that at some point in tonight's stream, probably pretty early on. I would say we're going to get into it because it's a little lower proof compared to some of the other things on the table. I'll probably have to run down to my basement and try to dig out my Turkey 101. So I don't love to do that, especially in the middle of a stream. If it's 2 hours in, that's fine. But we'll see what happens. I was on the Mashup podcast. If you guys, I don't know if anybody listens to the Mashup. It's a great podcast. I was with Anthony and Kenny that day. And then we shot one with the River Roots guys, 2 hours later or so, once we were all pretty pretty saturated. And we reviewed the 70th, and we actually did compare it to a Turkey 101. So I know that's a podcast. It's a different format, but that's also a good resource for where that happened. Good to see Nick. All right, so Tony Bag of Donuts. Let me get your super chat in here. I'm just going to write Tony Bag. All right, in for two says, hey, drummer boy, this is another thank you for allowing me to be a part of the Driftless pick. I'm picking up the Russell 70th and Disco 12. Nice, Disco 12. Can't wait. Cheers, man. And I forgot to mention, if you do look at the giveaway samples in the description of the video, Disco 12 is also in there. Can't forget about this. Review coming soon on the channel. I just haven't had a chance to make this one yet. I promise it's coming soon. So this week, guys, I'm sorry to do a bunch of recap at the beginning. I promise we'll get into these pours. What's That Whiskey dropped today? If you haven't checked out today's What's That Whiskey, please do. New series on the channel, only episode 3, but I think it's going really well. And today's episode was crazy. The Dusties on that episode were out of this world good and very fun. And then I think what was Monday was the Birthday Bourbon and the Four Roses Limited, which I have those out on the table here because people have been saying, hey, man, I think you're wrong about Four Roses and Birthday Bourbon. So I might revisit those tonight during this stream, because apparently I have it backwards compared to, what a lot of people are saying. Oh, is Rarebird in here? Oh, what's up, David? Nice. Dustin's... Oh, so guys, Dustin was on the Driftless pick too, and he really helped us out at the end, getting more of those short barrel bottles over my way, because there were a few stragglers that didn't fit in cases. So we would have had only 18 instead of 22. Cheers to 10K subs. Soon enough, you deserve it. Putting in that work. Thanks, man. All right. Mark, I'm glad you enjoyed the Boulder Cask. Really reminds me of a Jack pick in a lot of ways. What you guys don't know is that I filmed that Boulder review just before I did What's That Whiskey episode. Whichever episode was the Jack pick. I filmed the Boulder, and then I filmed the Jack pick, and I was like, why does the thing that I'm drinking blind taste like the Boulder that I just had? And I had this conundrum in the middle of that video, and it's because the Boulder stuff is very similar to Jack, in my opinion. All right, I'm gonna get down to the bottom here, guys. Steve Parker, thank you for the super chat. $2 super chat in here. Mark is jumping in. I got you, Mark, for 4. Says, cheers to your Boulder Cask wreck. Thanks, man. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Jeremy, I've never had a Wild Turkey single barrel rye. I know David Rarebird 101 just picked one. I did not snap. I'm trying to be very careful about what I buy right now, just financially speaking. I want to buy a lot of people's picks, but if I buy every pick that I want to buy, then I won't have any money. Because everybody's doing really cool picks right now. So I'm feeling the pain with everybody else who's also buying Drums and Drams picks. I totally get it. Hey, Cece, good to see you. Okay, let's get into this now. Where should we start? We should start low proof. So let's do this first. Let's get a little warm up here with some Angel's Envy Triple Oak. All right. Let's get into this. So Angel's Triple Oak, 92 proof. So you know what? Solid proof point. All things considered, for Angel's Envy, being a brand that I feel like is unfortunately, overpriced for what it is. There's a lot you can say about Angel's Envy. I feel like when a lot of people get into drinking bourbon, this thing catches your eye on the shelf. The price tag makes you go, oh, that must be kind of premium. And then you pick it up. And because you're not even, your palate is totally undeveloped, I think a lot of people are like, this stuff is great. And then they realize down the road, wow, that stuff is not that great, So Triple Oak, getting a little extra proof bump here, I think. This is a blend of bourbon finished in Hungarian, Chinkopin, and French oak barrels. And see, this is what always interests me with Angels, right? And this is the same thing with their bottled and bond. I thought they were distilling their own stuff, and maybe they are, but the label says distilled in Kentucky, bottled by Louisville Distilling Company. It doesn't say distilled and bottled by Louisville Distilling Company. So I don't know if it's some of their own stuff in here, and I'm not hip to what's going on at Angel's Envy, to be honest with you. So we'll see. See, I like the nose on that. I really like the nose on that. It's people in the micro batches tier for the Patreon have already heard me say this. Cheers all. Has anyone tried the 24 Cream of Kentucky small batch? No, I didn't even know that was happening. I don't keep up too much on the Cream of Kentucky brand. Steve says, love the podcast. Had no idea how brutal the laser coat thing was. Way to rise above. Well, you know, it was a learning experience. We'll put it that way. So on the nose, the triple oak, I'll tell you what it reminds me of. It reminds me of kind of older Green River, like O.Z. Tyler stuff. The real buttery note that some of those older, I'm just going to say Green River, some of the older Green River stuff had, which I think it's still, to some degree, some of those butter notes are still present in their whiskey, but it's not as pronounced, I would say, as what I've had in years past. This has that kind of butteriness on the nose, and it's extremely sweet. It's almost overly sweet on the nose with kind of like a, you know, store-bought icing on cookies, like store-bought cookies that have the icing on them. That kind of slightly artificial icing. This has a lot of that note on the nose. And also a little bit of like a cotton candy and maybe like a candied blueberry kind of note, you know? Interesting. But like all things considered, I actually really like the nose on the triple oak, I've got to say. And it feels balanced to me, besides being a little overly sweet. Proof, ethanol, like everything feels like it's pretty in balance. So, and a little bit of like, at the end there, I caught a little like white pepper. But let's go to the palate now. And the palate's not that great. Super, super young. Just all corn grain. A little nutty on the back end, actually, I think it's so grainy that it almost comes off nutty in the finish. What a disappointment that is, you know? What a disappointment. Because the nose on the triple oak to me is awesome. And then for some reason, the palate is 3 times worse. Or it's like 1/3 as good as the nose, I would say. I could sit and smell this all day. I would just never want to take a sip of it. And maybe almost a little bit of a banana note in here. I think that's right. Yeah, it's a little banana. Tom said, I've seen Angel's Envy barrels in a Bardstown rickhouse, and that makes sense. That could make sense. Yeah. Danny Spirits, have you tried Booker's Reserve? No, I have samples of Little Book Infinite, Booker's Reserve, and a bonus sample was thrown into the box thanks to Jake, who's sending me those. The Jim Beam 20 year from the Bardstown collection, which is something I really wanted to try. He threw it in there, so that box is going to get here Saturday. And by the time I get those, I'll probably end up making a video before you see those on a live stream, because my live streams are going to be pretty sporadic over the next month, just given travel schedule down to Atlanta for the pick we're going to do at Short Barrel. I'm going back up to River Roots to solidify a 15-year Kentucky bourbon barrel that we're going to get. It's going to be expensive, going to be about $300 a bottle, but significantly good whiskey. So we're going to snag one of those, probably around 80 to 100 bottles in one of those barrels. But anyways, yeah, I will taste the reserves in a video coming up for sure. Brooks, what's up, dude? I set my alarm 2 minutes before the scheduled drop for the River Roots 18, and they dropped it. Yeah, so some stuff got squirrely with the River Roots 18 drop, and I don't want to like get into all that. Probably not my place. They, I think, did not anticipate the demand of that bottle, and I think that's from their perspective as a company, that's good. You know, they're being cautious and they're a little, you know, they're trying to play it safe mentally and not hype it up. But we were all bound to just jump on the 18-year immediately. So I think there was a miscommunication in all of that. And I think, you know, Ryan from River Roots came out and posted on Facebook and apologized. But people were really being nasty about it. Grown men who are disappointed acting like children. Pretty nat. It's funny how we get that in the bourbon hobby. You know what I mean? Like, you get it in every hobby, but you know, there's so much good whiskey out there. It's like, I understand people are disappointed about missing some drops, but it's always going to happen. It's always going to be a crapshoot. Casket Salesman about to crack an 11.6 year short barrel as we speak. Let me know how it is. All right, so we're going to put the Angels to the side. We're going to yeah. We can say see you later to that one. All right, so what we're going to do next, let's see. Chris says that's drop culture, baby. It's in anything that's limited. Yeah. Dude, honestly, like, I understand being bummed about missing drops. I've missed so many drops, and then you know what happens the next day? You wake up and you don't remember that you missed the drop, and you don't care. It's like, you don't even, there's like, people talk about before you make a decision and times of crisis take 72 hours or something like that. When it comes to a bourbon drop, just wait 8 hours, and then your maturity level is going to go back up. Like, that's really what it is. But I get it. I get that it's disappointing, and I get if something is handled in a way that you conceive as being, poorly handled or whatever. I understand that that's frustrating, but there's so much good whiskey out there that I don't think we're in any shortage of that. All right, so let's keep it going. Let's get into this. Because Rare Bird's here, we're going to go straight into Russell's 10, laser codes. In the best of ways. In the best of ways. And hopefully David can comment on some of this, as we get going into this comparison. So let me tell you guys what's going on with the Russell's 10 stuff. As you know, Turkey has codes on all their bottles, and what's nice about Turkey codes is that not only do you have an alphanumeric code first, which, if you know how to read it, these two letters denote the year and then the month of the year, but then directly underneath it, you actually just get an explicit bottling date. And that's nice. It's like Scotch. A lot of Scotches have explicit bottling dates. So the deal with this is that David had posted in his Discord about a particular code, LL/ME20, as being noticeably heavier, richer on the nose, darker, even in color. And so what you have on your left is the Russells that I just picked up to make my video of a few weeks ago, actually. This is LLMA, which means it was bottled in January of 2024. LLME means it's bottled in May of 2024. Specifically, this is May 20th. I do believe. Yep, May 20th. And so this May 20th batch is the one that we're focusing on. And then the other one I have is more of a control batch. Now, these Russell's 10s, this is not like a C923 thing where you look at C923, it's supposedly all the same batch, right? In the same tank. And we're trying to discern variances amongst the same batch, which may or may not exist. That's one thing. These are definitively just two different batches, right? So there's no controversy over the laser code being BS or whatever. It just is telling you that they're two different batches, which then we can compare them and see if one batch is better than another, which it would be essentially like comparing B524 to C924 of, let's say, Elijah Craig. All right, so there's the setup. Oh, Rare Bird, is this Fight Club? Are we supposed to Fight Club this? I didn't know we were supposed to Fight Club this. Well, it's too late now, man. I ripped the Band-Aid. I didn't know that. I didn't know this was a secret. Okay, well, we're going to dive into it anyways. And again, these are going to go blind into whoever wins the sample giveaways tonight, because I want to get, I want other people to do this. Well, geez. All right. So here we have we're going to call this, the original LLMA, Glass 1, the control pour. And this is, again, I made the video on this. It's got that great, like, slightly funky, just old turkey note to it. It's very dark cherry driven, a little nuttiness to it. Brown sugar. You know, for 90 proof, a teeny bit sharp, a teeny bit astringent on the palate. But the notes in here for 40, 45 bucks, whatever it's going to be in your market. The reason I made the video is because I think it's great. So there you go. There's the control. Just messing with you. Okay. Sorry. Dude, I'm like, oh man, did I blow the lid off this thing? I mean, just leave it to me, right? Whatever. Dude, I'll always be down to clown with some laser codes. All right, so then LLME, the special one. Let's see what's going on with this. Yeah, so I mean, this literally to me, it by comparison, in comparison to this first one, this smells like Russell's 13. That's how much more oak, concentration of flavor, richness is on the nose. It's Funk City. It's like it's got that like stewed, concentrated, cooked down grape kind of notes. Plummy. Ridiculous. And it has that note. I talked about this note on Russell's 15, I think, which is kind of like the interior of an old car. Kind of like this suede note. I don't know. God bless America. I'm telling you. That batch is so ridiculously good. So if you guys happen in your local stores, if you happen to see a batch that's got LLME on it, ME20 to be specific, buy a couple of these things. I mean, this as a daily drinker, it hits far above a $40 to $45 price point. It's remarkably different to me. I mean, you know, it actually smells and tastes like special whiskey at 45 bucks. It reminds me, if I had to think about like a comparison, this is a little bit of an extreme comparison, but you know how like old school Dusties that nowadays we pay $500 for on secondary, at the time were like 15 bucks a bottle or something. But at the time, imagine paying 10, 15 bucks for an old granddad 114 in the 80s sitting on the shelf as whiskey of that quality. This reminds me of that idea. There's not another $40 to $50 bottle on the shelf that's going to give you this kind of experience as this particular batch. It's just really good. I know it's only 90 proof. I get it. But there's got to be older stuff in this batch. There's no way that's just 10 years old, or else it's a bunch of short barrels and a bunch of crazy Camp Nelson thrown in the mix from high floors. Otherwise, I think it's probably older stuff in this batch. My goodness. Very good whiskey. It's not something to overpay for. Like, if for some reason secondary gets a hold of this crap, don't do that. Don't pay $100 for this bottle or something. I don't think that's going to happen, but if it did, don't do that. Yeah, exactly. There's no way there's not older whiskey in this batch. Part of it reminds me of Russell's 13, and part of it legitimately reminds me of Russell's 15. And please don't take that out of context, guys. I'm talking like 20%. I'm not talking a proof down Russell's 15. That's not what I think this is. Steve, so the Russell's 10 review I did earlier is the one on your left, which is my control pour, which is good, but when you put it next to this other one, it smells like candy. It smells bright and like cherry candy in comparison, which is crazy, because when I had this on its own in that review video, it was like dark and rich and what I want from Russell's 10. This is what I want from Russell's 13, and I'm getting it on a Russell's 10. So, I mean, I'll take that, What's up, Paul? Good to see you, dude. All your weekend's beginning now. That's cool. That's cool. All right. So, anyways, moral of the story, if you see an LLME 20, buy that shit. Buy 3 of them. Just fun drinking whiskey that you can crush, not feel bad about your wallet, and have a good time drinking that stuff, and it's going to hit like a $100 bottle. So why don't we stay on the turkey train right now? Why don't we get into this? So let's go into the 70th anniversary release, 8-year age statement, 101 proof. And by the way, at first when they changed the bottle design, of like the 101 to this glass shape. I was like, I don't know how I feel about it. There's something about those like paper labels, the older look. I love this bottle design. And with this 8-year 101 with the kind of this, this red faux seal on the top, and the fact that you can just see right through the bottle and see the whiskey, that's my favorite. My favorite of all time is that when it looks elegant, there's nothing that's taking away from the whiskey inside the bottle. It's just a beautiful look. And it's like $50, and it's going to get nationwide distribution, and there's going to be a lot of this stuff out there. Dan H. broke open the rack in Tour Batch 2. That's good stuff. Yeah, it is good stuff. Everybody that I have compare the Batch 2 and Batch 1, it's always split which one is the favorite. Batch 1 has a lot of fans because of the lighter, sweeter, creamier, I don't want to say more balanced profile, maybe a little more balanced, but let's just say more decadent. And Batch 2 appeals to people that like, a little bit more of a hefty experience. Man, this freaking on the nose. Okay, let me grab a couple of super chats, y'all. Just, again, I don't want to fall behind. I have Venmo payments coming in right now also for the short barrel samples that we're doing in the Patreon. So I have so many coming in, I don't want to get behind because then I might screw up and miss some. So we have we have a big one here from Jason Zell coming in with 20 entries. Jason, thank you, dude. Says live stream giveaway, I'm in. Cheers to that. Thank you for that. Ooh. Okay. Matt Thomas jumping in for one. Says, working tonight, but look forward to catching up later. Cheers all. Thank you, Matt. Let's keep moving up. Ow. Is in for 3. Any plans for a Sagamore pick? I've been obsessed with them recently. I haven't thought about doing a Sagamore pick only because we've been finding such great MGP rye from River Roots that there hasn't been a need to look elsewhere. We are going to look for some more rye, I think, at Short Barrel. I need to email Clinton back and just confirm everything. But I haven't been thinking about Sagamore. I also think that Sagamore picks sometimes don't sell very well, and that just unfortunately is a factor still when we only have 330 people or so in the Patreon. If it's a thing that is a little bit iffy in terms of just general sales and other groups, I have to be careful what we pick. All right, Copper Wolf in for 5. Thank you, man. And then Dan H is jumping in too, I think, for 6 here. Says, little superhero emoji or something. Michael Gow, I think, is going to be our last one, at least that I have on this refresh. In for 5. Thank you, guys. Excited to crack Evernorth FS3. What is FS3? Is that the Finnish stuff? And Short King this weekend. Cheers. Cheers, man. I hope you enjoy this thing. This is a great bottle. Very happy with how it turned out. It's super oaky, but in the best of ways, I think. Yes, Ron, throw us some breaking news, dude. What's going on? Hit us, Ron. Can we? Is this it? Are we getting an exclusive scoop right now, live on the air? Oh, Drums and Drams Green River is bottled. Yes. Ron, that's awesome, dude. Because I get nervous between picking and bottling when, I'm not saying there hasn't been communication. I actually followed up and asked. But I just get nervous myself when I'm like, oh, man, I hope it gets bottled in time. Because I always set the dates. Like, our dates are set through the end of December for all of our pick drops. And I'm like, I just want to hit all those targets, Oh, that's great news, man. So, interestingly, Ron, so we picked a fairly short barrel for Green River, 120-ish bottles. And our bourbon picked one with just about the same yield. And actually the same proof, both 132s. I'm interested to compare the our bourbon bottling. I don't have one, but somebody else, a few other people in our Patreon do. And I'm going to see if I can snag a sample from somebody. because I want to see if the profiles are similar. Because I think it's interesting that he picked same yield, same proof, and I'm like, I wonder if those profiles are comparable. That, Ron, I've been saying it, dude. Most exciting. I'm not just saying this because you're here, I promise. People can vouch for me on this. It's my most exciting pick of the year because the value versus flavor profile, the fact that it tastes like barrel proof old Fitz, like, I'm in. I'm so in. 126 bottles. Look at that. And it's 5-year whiskey, 5.5. Come on. 132.2. I'm so stoked, dude. I can't tell you. I can't tell you. Jacob, what's up, dude? So, guys, I shot a drum cover yesterday with Jacob. This is my old friend from freaking elementary school. Although back then, Jacob bullied me. On the bus, I remember Jacob stole my Big Red gum in the back of the bus. Back when, chewing Big Red was pretty cool. And Jacob also shot me with a paintball gun in 2nd grade, and I cried to my mom, and not great. Or Jacob, did you shoot me or did Tim shoot me with the paintball gun? Either way, dude. We go way back. And we played in bands together, and he's got a studio. So we did a drum cover yesterday, and it's of a Protest the Hero song called Blood Meat, and that's going to be in a performance video. I'm going to try to get it out next week. It might be 2 weeks. We'll see. I got to figure out which whiskey I want to use as the review portion of that performance video. So we'll find out, but... anyways, we've been letting this Turkey 101 limited release get enough air now, so I think it's time to get into it. Dude, the proof on this Green River pick's going to be so good. Oh, I can't wait. Thanks, Ron. Thanks for the breaking news, dude. Steve Parker, appreciate your super chat. Get you in for 10 entries. Messed up my first one. Oh, yeah, I saw 199 or something, 299. Thanks for being awesome. Love the drum session. Thanks, man. Okay, time to get into this turkey. Jason, when are you dropping? The Green River is supposed to be October 18th with the Hard Truth Sweet Mash Rye. Jesse, I got you, Cam. I'll send you. Oh man, that would be cool, Jesse. Let me know about it, and I'll cover shipping and all that kind of stuff. Sam, good to see you, dude. Makes you the man you are, says Chris. Okay. Let me get something else on my nose. I've been smelling this too much. Let's go to an Eagle Rare. Okay. Now, back to the turkey. So the first thing that I notice about this turkey is that it feels very intense. Like classic 101 intensity, but not an unbalanced intensity. It's actually a balanced... Like everything hits you kind of flat like this, if that makes sense. It's not pointy on the front. That kind of sounds stupid, but it's just this wall of aroma on the nose. I appreciate that about it. The other thing that I noticed right off the bat, and again, I don't know how I can like explain this well, but it smells almost textured to me. It smells like it's gonna have a texture on the palate. It's the best way I can put it. Sometimes I've said textured chocolate, and what I really mean is chocolate wafers, if that tracks for you and how you can imagine that, but it almost has this textured thing on the nose. So I get a vanilla icing note. I get this very rich cinnamon, not spiky or overly spicy, but intense, rich cinnamon. There's like a berry note at the very bottom of this. A great kind of bittersweet sensation that plays with the cinnamon. Cinnamon can be bittersweet. It plays into a little bit of a coffee vibe and a little bit of a barrel char vibe. And then as I smell it more and more, what starts to stand out to me is a citrus note. So just a great kind of turkey orange citrus on the nose. So there you go. Little mint, actually. I'm finding a little mint too. This has grip on the palate in a really nice way. It's spicy. It's grippy. A little bit dry, but the dryness works with this whiskey. I've said that on a few recent reviews that I've done on the channel, actually. I've talked about, I've drank a lot of tannic whiskey as of late. I'm not saying this is overly tannic by any means. It's only 8 years old. But it has the grip on the palate that reminds me of barrels that are pulled from high floors and rick houses. If you think of like a Tier 6 Four Roses, a lot of those not only have that oak that's really cooked into the whiskey, but that whiskey then, as a result, grips a little bit harder on the palate. This has that sensation for me. All right, back to the nose. Now that I've acclimated to a lot of that stuff, I'm actually just getting a more down-the-middle caramel thing that you get on some turkey products, right? And what I love about this is how the spice just goes and goes and goes. The finish goes forever on this whiskey. And as it sits on the palate, too, develops, goes into the finish, the brights of the whiskey get brighter as it develops. Like, I'm getting more citrus, more effervescence and lift from the whiskey on the palate. And as it's continuing into the finish now, it's still lifting and getting a little bit spicier and more intense. So there's a rise of spice, there's a rise of mintiness, menthol sensation, cooling sensation in your mouth. And that elevation helps this just feel like it goes on and on and on. So a great drinking experience. I mean, for 8-year Wild Turkey, you pretty much can't do any better than this. I mean, this is pretty freaking good. It's a total recommend. This bottle's a total recommend. Bro, Sam is coming in hot. How are we feeling, chat? I'm a big fan of this. It turns Wild Turkey 101 up like 3 notches, but without the sharpness. It takes the sharpness away and concentrates the flavor so much. It feels somewhere between, like, God, I don't even know. I don't know how to relate this to another product. It reminds me a little bit of a Russell Single Barrel in some ways, but not also in others. It's tough. It's a pretty unique profile, I would say. So Casket Salesman in for 2. I got to say, I envy those of you going to short barrel for the pick, because this... Okay, you're into that one, 11.6 now. Nice, man. Thank you for the super chat. Mojo says, I love it. Reminds me of Dusty 101. There is a little note that I could see. I could see that. It's a little bit sharper than like a Dusty would be, I think. But I see where you're going with that, because there is an underlying almost like chocolate thing in here. Yeah, it's almost a chocolate thing, and I think that's the note that's bringing me back to dustier versions. I bought 5 already. Hell yeah. I get blackberry. I could see blackberry. For some reason in this whiskey, I focus less on the darker notes. I find them there, but I focus more on how, like, just how balanced the cinnamon note is in this whiskey. For some reason, the way that plays, and also how it plays with kind of that bittersweetness I was talking about, that's like the most interesting part of this for me. Parker, how does it compare to the 12? The 12 is like a grape bomb, if I remember correctly. It really reminds me of older MGP in many ways. This is... I think this is more of an unapologetic whiskey. The 12 101 is kind of like a careful whiskey in some ways. This is not a careful whiskey. This just, boom, here I am. It's very good. Just found you through the Bourbon Junkies. Called a few bottles out there. for a newbie like me, that's crazy. Oh man, well thanks. I'm glad you jumped over here. Yeah, I love Dan and Sean. So it's great to have you over here on the more tame side of things. No, I'm just kidding. It's always so fun to go up and hang with those guys, and it becomes just a shit show every time. In the best way. In the best way. Cool. So highly recommend that. This is a bottle worth backing up at $50. You know, I'd probably snag 2 of these things. Devin, what is the age of Kentucky Spirit supposed to be? I'm not sure. If Rarebird's still in here, he probably has that info. If I had to guess, 7, but I really don't know. Ben, Cam, what's your absolute favorite whiskey note you love to find? That's that's going to be a toss-up. Can I give you 2 or 3? Because one is vanilla cream. When a whiskey hits a certain age and you get that legit old vanilla cream note. You find that on Evan Williams 23, a lot of King of Kentucky's, Heaven Hill 17. Those are the types of whiskeys that have that true vanilla cream note for me. The other one is going to be root beer. I love a root beer whiskey. And there are different versions of that, right? Like the Evernorth pick that we just did is very root beer heavy, but it's in more of like, and we did this pick, but it's in more of a forced way because it's coming from a secondary barrel, the Wave Stave. I love it when it's a root beer note that came just from the original barrel, which we're finding on a lot of those 11.5-year MGP ryes between, 120 and 135 proof. It's on a lot of other whiskeys too, but root beer, vanilla cream, those are probably my favorites. I love dark fruit notes and everything else, but those two, which are a little bit more of a classic feel, I'm a sucker for a more classic whiskey, I would say. Team Vanilla. Absolutely. It's the best. Kentucky Spirit 8+. Wow, I didn't know that. So there really is then an overlap between Kentucky Spirit and Russell's pick aging at this point. William, so that we can start to build a common library of whiskeys that could serve as an almost objective benchmark. Oh, I saw your comment up here about this. So William, it's a great idea, and it's an idea I've talked about for so freaking long with other Patreon members. The only reason I haven't pulled the trigger on it is because it requires on my end a lot of planning because I think when I start a series like this that you're talking about, I need to have the first 10 videos thought through and planned in my head. And it's one of those things that from a time perspective, it's much easier to do a review video, one and done. You taste the whiskey, review it, and you move on, as opposed to sitting down and planning this. Because I think this needs to be done as a not an intensive, but some sort of thought through series. But it's on my mind for sure. As long as it's crushed. I actually don't like crushable whiskeys, Steve. I would rather have a whiskey that challenges me than is crushable. That's just me though. And we're gonna pick crushable whiskeys, and I'm gonna denote them as such when we do pick them. But I prefer whiskeys that challenge me and make me think, because then they're crushable because you want to go back to it. It's like I don't want to. I want to keep drinking this so I can get into it more. All right, let me grab a few more super chats here. Where are we going to go next? I think next what we might do, we're going to do some rare character. So let me get this in a glass. And just to be very clear at the beginning of this review for the rare character, I know, excuse me, there were a lot of media samples or maybe even full bottles sent out of this by rare character. This was not provided. I paid SRP for this bottle, just so you guys know. So anything I say about it, whether good or bad, there's no conflict of interest on this. All right, Jesse in for 2. Thank you, man. Shawty got low, he said. I don't know what we were talking about. I don't know what the reference is. Oh, are you talking about the Green River? I don't even know. I can't stop thinking about the freaking Green River. Ron came in and just put that in my brain, you know? It's like when someone says, think of an apple, you know? And then, like, don't think about a snake. And you're like, well, now I thought about a snake, you know? Can't stop thinking about Green River. Paul says, Sampy entry. Thanks, Paul. All right, got you, man. Mark Gillikin, in for more. Thanks, man. In for 4. In for all the picks, he says. And Jeremy White says, Mars Volta drum cover win. All right, dude. Listen. That's going to be a project. That's going to be a project. All right, 2 more here. Jeremy Hughes is in for 4. And he says Russell's 15 is greater than VVS 13. All right, those are fighting words, dude. And here, you're flanked quickly by Justin. Justin Potts, who also agrees with you, says getting saturated. Dude, we're all getting saturated right now. Cheers to that, and cheers to Kenny Mills, who coined the term getting saturated, as far as I know, at least. Ron, dude, I can't get it out of my freaking head now, man. I'm just kidding. Sorry, working on decks at 9:30 at night and just wanted to listen to you talking sweet whiskey notes. I'll talk sweet whiskey notes to you, Ron. Oh, baby. And I remembered I got your barrel yield today and forgot to text you. It's all good, dude. Kenton Klein, how available is a rare character? I have no clue. I think the allocation that... Well, actually, you know what it says on the front? 1320. So 1,320 bottles. I think the allocation Bourbon Outfitter got was not big. It was like some cases, not a lot of cases. I don't want to. I was told a number, but I don't want to like. That's not for me to share. But it's not a lot of cases. And so if that's the case at BO, then that's probably the case. If I don't know if Seal Box got this, but if they did, it's probably a similarly small number. I'm not sure if this is going to be in stores or other online retailers. I have no idea what distribution is like. What's up, Nick? Thanks for the super chat, man. I'll put you in here as morning special, Nick. In for 1. Josh says, I tried the rare character, not a fan. Jesse, if you want crushable, that's what Pilsner's for. True that. Although, you know what? Time and a place for sure. Sometimes it's better to drink a Pilsner than a loaf of bread. William, I'm going to try, man. I have this giant Four Roses project that's like, as far as big projects for the channel, that is the top priority of big projects first for all the recipes. All right. All right. Rizzle D, what Green River can you not get out of your mind? The barrel pick that we did. So I'm not, I'm not trying to sell it too much. That's going to go very fast in the Patreon, I think. So. All right. Interesting. The nose on this is, I like it up front. There's no age statement on here. Distilled in Kentucky, aged in Kentucky, aged in New Charred Oak. So nothing crazy here. No. Okay. So this smells double oaked on the nose. That's the reason I'm looking at the bottle and kind of wondering. It smells like that. How do you what would you say for a double oak? To me, it's like an aggressive cinnamon note. It's like a little bit of a sharp, slightly astringent cinnamon note. So first impression of the nose is like, all right, I like this. I like the way it smells. It smells very rich, spicy, and dark. The more I smell it, though, it starts to pull apart for me on the nose, where now I'm finding this top layer, like you pasted something onto it, which to me feels like that double oaking. It feels like you pasted something on, and then when you get underneath that top layer, it actually feels a little bit dull underneath it. So they don't give you the source of this, and at this point, because it's a blended product, it could be multiple sources blended together. And on the nose, there's no tells for me right away of like where this could come from. And it's not really worth speculating, but you know. Oh, 5 to 15 years? Wow. I thought it was 002, but I heard it was not. Oh, wow. Huh. You know what? I had a sample of a Brook Hill 15, and the Brook Hill 15 had this level of cinnamon on it. But it would be crazy to throw some of that in this blend, wouldn't it? At the price point, especially. Anyways, again, that's to me, it's like I want to speculate so hard and think about what it could be. But the only thing that I would have outright guessed on this is that it's double oaked, and if it's not, that's pretty crazy. There's a little bit of a milky note to this. That just popped into my head. Yeah, almost like a Makersy milky dairy thing in here. Huh. Actually has a lot of a Maker's kind of vibe to it. Oh, very grassy in the mid palate. I don't like that about it. The front is nice. Like the front of the palate and the first impression on the nose, all of the first impressions that you get from the whiskey, I'm a big fan of. The more I dig into the nose, and wow, the more I have this on the palate now in the finish, this is a grass bomb. So that is a big turnoff for me. And that's not just in this whiskey. That's across the board. You get grassiness, and I'm out. Back to the nose now. Very chocolatey. Almost like that kind of KOA. If anybody's had a KOA barrel, I think a lot of KOAs have kind of a chocolatey note. This reminds me a little bit of that. You know, it actually... So I said there's that kind of creamy, milky thing that I'm getting. It reminds me of hot chocolate. Sort of. Just, yeah, kind of wholly an entirely hot chocolate experience. I don't know. I'm really tired today. Sorry. My words are going to start getting mixed up quicker tonight, I think. Ooh. The grassiness is killing me on this. Because it's... On some ryes, I'm cool with some grassiness because you expect herbal, you expect green notes. On this, you don't expect it based on the nose, and I don't get the grassiness on the nose. And then when it gets into the palate, it's very earthy and soil and, yeah, potting soil. It's got that potting soil note to it, which with the chocolate notes, you can kind of blend the two together. But for me, I can't get rid of the potting soil and earthy, grassy thing. So, you know, for me on this... It's a little bit of a subjective thing with the grass note. I don't think the price point's bad. I would not pay over for this. I think this was $85. This is not my cup of tea, but it might be your cup of tea. Yeah. I'll do one more sip, though. Back to the nose. Just a very clear now sugary sweetness. Just pure sugar on this. Great front. And now we get into the grassiness. And all the spice stays on the palate. The flavors themselves don't really develop, though. The flavors kind of sit and die off, but the spice from the front of the palate continues to ramp up. That is the same thing I complained about on the Four Roses 24 Limited. Now, the Four Roses has these old Four Roses notes to it because it's mostly 15 to 20-year whiskey in that blend. And so I love the Four Roses 24 LE because of those notes, but it's got the same kind of blend construction complaint on both, which is that the spice hits you up front, feels like it's going to go sky high and ramp up the whole time. And the spice does that, but all the other flavors fall off early. Both of these whiskeys now have that for me. So this one is not my favorite. I think it's going to be fun to track Rare Character's entry into the blending process and see what these different blends look like if they start doing batched products more often. But for now, I'm going to still just seek out, more single barrels, I think. And Rare Character is just like any other NDP with their single barrels. Hit and miss. There are some runs that are good, some runs that aren't as good. And within those barreled lots that they get, there's really good and there's stuff that's not so good. Like even Brook Hill. Brook Hill Ryes, 2 of those ryes are 2 of my favorite ryes of all time, Las Palmas and Went. And then the other 4 were just like, they're good. Like maybe 1 or 2 were solid, and then the other 2, I'm like, I wouldn't have put this maybe under this label because the disparity between the lowest rye in my ranking, which I can't remember which one it was, versus Went and Las Palmas, it was a big, big difference in those. So I think Rare Character, like genius marketing, they're always going to sell their stuff out, and kudos to them for that. But yeah, to me, it's just like any other NDP in the sense that you have these hits and misses. But when the hits are there, I mean, they're there. And I loved all the malts. Pink Dan, pour the 24 roses against it. I mean, I can, but that's not really a good comparison. I think that's what this is, right? This was the Rare Character. What else do I have? Yeah. Whew. It is grassy, man. So, okay, let's get into it then quickly. I didn't mention the proof, by the way, on the Rare Character. It is 113, so 56.5. And as far as that proof goes, it doesn't say barrel proof on it, so I have to imagine it was proofed down to that. And who knows, if it was proofed down to that, maybe that would be the reason why the palate has that little bit of a, disjunct development with the spice versus the body of the whiskey. Could be the same thing for the Four Roses. If the Four Roses, proof down, this is 108. So let's pour some more of this. Thanks again to Justin for this sample. Is the Four Roses LE good? Yes, it's very good. Flavors are better than the blend construction, if that makes sense. I could sit and crush this all day, but it needs to have a little better development on the palate, I think. Brand, it says tasted like a... Sorry, I didn't read that before I put that on the screen. See, Brandon, I get some nuttiness to this, but not to the degree that I think you're getting on it. But I'm also more sensitive maybe to the grass note in it. Grassiness is a deal breaker. Oh, it does say cast strength? Oh, it does. Sorry, man. Sorry, guys. This is cast strength. Yeah, it's in this little diamond right here above the proof. I totally would have missed that. Good call. Good call. Tom Snyder, how would you compare the... I haven't done this comparison yet. I plan to do that comparison. I've got enough of the 24. So I'll have one sip here and pour the rest back. I will do that comparison. It could end up being a blind comparison because I think I have every LE back to 16 now to do on a video. That one could end up being a live stream. I don't know yet. Like a dedicated live stream for the LEs, and then the video could just be the 10 recipes and the tiers. I don't know. We'll find out. All right. So the Four Roses, we're just going to revisit this. We'll compare it to the Rare Character, but I don't think it's necessarily the best comparison. The nose on the Four Roses LE is crazy. That it's that again, when Four Roses oak gets this intense and the whiskey is this old, you get this buttercream oak profile. Whereas I think with, and it's a little bit tart and not acidic, but maybe a little bit in a good way. I think that's kind of like the Four Roses old profile, whereas when you get like Heaven Hill old profile, you can get more of that vanilla cream, or this is more of this funky thing. Front of the palate is so good. And here's all the spice. All the spice. It lifts on the palate, and the body falls out. Yeah, that... I'm going to stand by it on the Four Roses. The flavors are great, but flavor is much easier than... When you think about a blend, flavor is much easier to get, in my opinion, than actually a cohesive drinking experience. So... Anthony, no, the RC is not a Four Roses. I mean, we don't know what it is what I should say more specifically. Have you tried any K-Luke? I have tried K-Luke. Yeah, I mean, I think K-Luke is really solid. Batch 5. I loved Batch 5. I thought 7 was good too. The Toasted Rye was also really good, but I put it up against Raconteur, and unfortunately Raconteur, that's just such a good rye. I don't think the K-Luke was a bad value, though. It was $109. Raconteur was $129. I think the $20 difference tracks between the levels of those two whiskeys. So I think K-Luke's doing good stuff. I felt like when I was starting to drink more of their blends, I can't justify with the release schedule that they're doing. I can't now justify buying every one of their blends and tasting and reviewing them because it's just too much money. And every time I get one, I kind of have the same thing to say about it. It's like, well, this is really good, but there's not a wow factor to the blend. So I've just kind of stopped picking them up, mostly just out of financial responsibility on my end. I'm really curious to taste them, but wow, that rare character is... It really smells double oaked, I'm telling you. It's crazy that it's not. If that's true, very surprising to me. What is Brian says negative? What are you saying? What are you saying negative to, Brian? Hey, Brian, come to Cleveland next Friday. Come up to Cleveland next Friday, 2:30 p.m. How far is that drive for you? Five and a half? You should do it. Come to Cleveland next Friday, man. Oh, I see. You were talking to Ron. Sorry. Matthew Keeble, thank you for the super chat. Let me get you in here for 2. Appreciate the authenticity. Keep up the good work. Thanks, man. Okay. So we've covered a lot of bases already. We are an hour and 10 into the live stream. Let me grab a few super chats. I think maybe... All right, let me ask you guys. So here's what we have left to do. We have Driftless. We can go through the Driftless picks that are going to drop tomorrow. We've got Driftless. We've got River Roots 18. I should probably do that on a semi-fresh palate before we go and before we tip the scales of saturation this evening. So River Roots 18, Driftless picks. Is there any desire? Like, I know people were asking me about, have you tasted this yet? The Evernorth pick we did. Is there a reason to taste it on this stream, or is this something we should just, because these are sold out at this point? I don't know if we should necessarily taste it. We could do that in Patreon maybe. But if there's desire for it, just let me know. The giveaway, the samples are in the description of the video. And if it ends up being a Patreon member who ends up with the Driftless picks tomorrow, who wins, then I'll replace those samples with something else. Have you reviewed or tried Old Charter French? I'm assuming it's not worth the price tag. I'm not a big fan of it. It's just got some additional oak notes that I'm not that are just not really for me. It gets rubbery. The Old Charter French, I tried it at the Junkies event this summer. I was also pretty saturated at that time too, but I do remember it being pretty rubbery and kind of over oaked for me in that way. Tom's, your barrel pick from Middle West. Have you tasted anything more available that comes close to that flavor profile? Probably not more available. Because a lot of those picks get compared to like Stag Junior, and like Barrel Proof E.H. Taylor sometimes is what those comparisons end up being, and those would be, even harder to get. It's just that Middle West knows how to use those 30-gallon barrels with some of those picks. So I don't really have an answer for that one, unfortunately. Josh, Cam got to taste your 9-year Evernorth pick. Pretty good. Thank you. I'm glad you like it. Okay, let's keep going. No, nobody helped me out. I don't know where to go next. Let's do River Roots 18. We got 180 people in here. Thank you guys for being here. This is what I would consider to be the star of the show tonight, as far as whiskeys we're going to taste and also samples that are going to go into the sample pack that gets given away. This is the star of the show. 117.9 proof, 18 years old, and I'm pretty sure this is the 36% rye mash from MGP. About 170 bottles of this exist. 5 short barrels were dumped into a stainless steel tank last year, and that's where this came from. And River Roots got their hands on that singular tank. And the first time I tasted this whiskey was out of the stainless tank up there. Oh, God. I mean, look at the color on this. I guess it's not crazy dark, but the bottle makes it look super dark with the black label. I love this. Gutted out black and gold. It looks like a champ, like a befitting a champion, as John Anik would say. This one, what was this? Was this $300? Was the 18,300, guys? I can't remember actually what I paid for it. Jeez. Brian, bourbon of the year. Ben, this one's already gone, man. This is done and dusted, sold out. 320 was shipping. Oh, so it was 300 base. Okay. Whew. This needs a second in the glass to kind of air out. Devin says, talking about Middle West, they need to switch back to 30-gallon for picks and blending in with 53-gallon stuff, kind of like what Kings County does. Yeah, I if I could just have my way and snap my fingers, Middle West's most of their stuff would be back in 30 gallons, because I just thought that they were so good with those barrels. Hey, guys, can I do a real quick, forgive me, or just a real quick plug on a few things? One, please hit that like button. If you haven't subscribed, please do so. We're getting super close to 10,000 subs, and that's a pretty big milestone for the channel. And then another just shameless plug, maybe 2 more. One, if you wouldn't mind following the Instagram page, I'm starting to post a little bit more over on the Drums and Drams Instagram, so just look up Drums and Drams. You can find that over there. I put a little drumming clip of me, which is going to be in the next performance video. That's going to come out in about a week or 2. So give that a follow. Also check out on Facebook. I started a Drums and Drams community page on Facebook. It's public. You can just jump in. You don't have to be invited or anything. And we're, I'm slowly going to figure out what to do with that page besides just general posts. YouTube membership. You can find that in the description of this video. $2.99 a month. You get the fun emojis and all that kind of stuff. And last but not least, the Patreon, $5 or $10 a month. The other tiers are already sold out. We are dropping the Driftless Glen picks tomorrow. And then we've got some other cool stuff coming up. The Green River, the Hard Truth, limited edition pick, was what we're calling it, from River Roots, 12-year rye, just a whole bunch of stuff. So all those different things, YouTube membership, Patreon, Instagram, Facebook. If you wouldn't mind just, following the channel on those, especially the free things, Costs no money, and it really helps support. So thanks for doing that. All right, now let's get into this 18 year now. Good Lord. Terry Powers, thank you for the super chat. Only takes one. That's what she said. All right, on the nose, 117.9 proof. First impression, it actually crawls up your nose just a little bit. So interestingly, at less than 118 proof and at 18 years old, it still has enough, like it's not flat on the nose. It is the opposite of flat. It's actually just a teeny bit too, prickly on your nose, I would say. And that's why I was saying I think this needs just a little bit of air to open up, because I've tasted an open bottle of this lower fill that had been open longer, and it didn't have that effect on me. But the primary note that I get out of this is basically just think of the color purple. Every black and purple fruit you can imagine. If you've never had the chance to try highly aged MGP, that to me is kind of the quintessential profile. Most of them go to those dark fruit notes, and then some of them, like the Remus Volstead, which is 14-year bottled in bond, I think that was released in 2019. The Remus Volstead at 14 years old was actually, instead of tracking down into dark fruits, tracked up into this tobacco citrus thing, which was freaking crazy. I think Volstead for me is still one of my favorite MGP bottles ever. But most of them go dark fruit. If you've ever had the Remus Gatsby Reserve, which was, one of them was like 98.1 proof or something, and we all wanted more proof from that, this basically smells like Gatsby at a higher proof. And way even more baked in and concentrated. And it has that Gatsby effect, which I said when you walk outside in the fall and you're crunching on all of the dead leaves, there's like a smell that you get from that. It's different than soil. It's different than grassiness. This has that same effect of the Gatsby on the nose. Man, I don't know what to say. It's just like syrupy fruit notes, dark fruit all day. That's all. I'm not saying it's not complex, but it definitely knows what it is. Oh, God. Wow, damn. I was waiting to see if that would have the same effect as the Four Roses, where the bottom drops out and you just get all of the spice. And this does not. This has the same. We talked about a little bit of tannic grip earlier on the Turkey 8. And maybe it's just because I've been tasting either highly aged whiskeys recently or a lot of stuff that's been, heavily oaked. This has, again, a lot of grip on the palate, way more than the 8-year. This has a lot of tannin going on, but the flavors continue in waves and continue developing even as the spice goes. It really is just a dark fruit syrup, leather, and tobacco bomb all the way through. Oh my God. And listen, is this a perfect whiskey right now? No, it's not. It's a... Ooh. Okay, vanilla cream's starting to come into play, and so I'm happy right now. But it's not a perfect whiskey. It's a very good whiskey, and the price tag was high, and it deserves that price tag, which is pretty cool. It's not often... Like, when you spend $300 on a bottle, it's pretty easy to have buyer's remorse, or the opposite. It's easy to hype that bottle well beyond what the bottle deserves because you want your money to have been worth it. This is worth every bit of the money, Dustin, you know what, man? That's a great comparison. So yeah, this would be the only thing that I have in this house, I would say, probably, that can compare to the profile of this River Roots 18. Yeah, Rare Bird, I know, it gets confusing. Actually, this is the one that I think, technically, it should be this. It should be RRBC for River Roots Barrel Company. Ryan at River Roots has said that too. We always just kind of use context clues in the Discord, I think, when we talk River Roots. Gosh. The longer this sits out with air, the better it gets. So what I'm putting next to the River Roots 18 right now is Rebecca Creek 16. Now, this is a different mash bill. This is the 75-21-4 mash bill. The River Roots is 60-36-4. And the Rebecca Creek is going to have a pretty distinct proof advantage of about 10 proof points. Yeah, it's 127.7. It's 16 years old as compared to 18. But with the proof advantage, you know, it's going to be an interesting comparison. Color, Rebecca Creek, very cloudy. Rebecca Creek is highly unfiltered whiskey. If you ever had one of these 16-year bottles, there is some shit just floating around. They're called flavor crystals. Wow, very different. I mean, again, Rebecca Creek proof advantage, so it just pops your nose immediately. And the Rebecca Creek is much more heavy on the leather note in particular. So it actually makes it feel older. I would say the Rebecca Creek is less balanced on the nose. It's more of just like, yeah, it's just a leather bomb. And then back to the River Roots. This has elegance now. And it's not that I didn't find that on it before, but this comparison really brings that to the front, where you can just sense the balance on the whiskey and the vanilla. Because there's so much leather and darkness coming out of the Rebecca Creek, everything else is pretty close. But that note in particular, then you put it next to the River Roots and the vanilla pops off because it's such polar opposite, you know, such a polar opposite note as compared to that leather. So tasting the River Roots again. Man, it gets candied on the back. As the River Roots develops, you start to get like, I'm trying to think of what the candy is. Sour punch bites. It's like sour candy ropes, you know? Airheads, soft, chewy candy rope, something. So back now let's go to the Rebecca Creek. I mean, that's like, so again, different mash bills. The Rebecca Creek has actually more of a cola root beer note to it. So I'm a sucker for that. Oh, man. And of all the barrels I've had of Rebecca Creek, this has been my favorite. So it's not fair that I have the chance to go through different barrels of this, whereas this is a singular, you know, tanked release. But also consider this. Secondary price on these Rebecca Creeks is about $4.50. We don't really know what secondary is or will be, or if there even will be secondary for these River Roots, but the base price was like $300 or so. So it's all kind of comparable. It's all kind of in the same realm. And I think that's correct because the experiences are different, but I think they're on the same level generally. Man. Okay. So you guys know, I mean, well, you know what? We're going to do a blend. You guys know that I love River Roots. And I'm probably going to be a little bit biased whenever I talk about them. You know, so just keep that in mind. like Ryan and I from River Roots have texted about this bottle, and even Ryan was talking about like, oh man, it needs some more air, you know, and it's his product. So I think we're always very honest. Like when I go up there and taste with those guys, we're always honest about stuff, and I think that's the right move. But even still, I'm always gonna hype River Roots. So just know that. Just know that. Ooh, the blend. Okay. I had more Rebecca Creek in my glass than I had River Roots. Surprisingly, the River Roots is taking over. It's more candied on the nose. And that just goes to show you that blending doesn't always work, because the palate does not work. It was like, oh, nope, we're not going to go. Oh, nope. It's like the spice didn't know which way to go. It was not a smooth development on the palate. And that just goes to show, you know, two great whiskeys do not always blend well together. Look now, Rare Bird. Now look at the abbreviation for that blend, RCRRBC 1618. And if I put some Russell's 10 in that shit's gonna get confusing. Then it would be RRRCRRBC 101618. Josh, that's funny, man. Of course you're biased. The only place you can do a 12-hour pick. All right, Morgan. You have $300, and hypothetically, both, I'm imagining we're talking River Roots, both the River Roots 18 and Russell's 15 are available. Would you even consider the 18 if you didn't already have a 15? They're so different. I mean, they're so different, man. I don't know. I'd probably go Russell's 15. I think the Russell's 15 is a freakish profile for modern whiskey. And the fact that I think I could pull off my shelf right now, which I paid secondary for, don't get me wrong, that Rebecca Creek means that something else like this may exist out there somewhere. The Russell's 15 is such a singular profile for modern day whiskey right now that I would just have to go that direction. And the reason I feel good about saying that is because I brought Russell's 15 to Ryan from River Roots, and he tasted it, and he was like, holy shit. And then he immediately jumped on secondary and bought two. But yeah, so like that's an all-timer. I'm not saying this isn't. Because frankly, as far as drinking experience, like construction or blend construction, I actually think this is probably better as far as drinking experience goes. If you want to talk flavors, that's a different story. Russell's 15 flavors are just like second to none. See, Mojo, I don't think it's a complete whiskey. I think it still has a couple rough edges. But as I've gone through the year and tasted other things, there's nothing else that's standing up to it, even though it has, to me, a couple of flaws. And I say that loosely. It's rough edges is a better way. I still don't think it's quite a complete whiskey. Basically, a whiskey of the year question. This is in the top 100%. This is top 10. I don't know where it would fall in a top 10. The Russell's is top 3, if not the top. Brian, stop! I keep saying Old Fitz 13, dude. And people keep telling me that I'm batshit crazy, but I keep saying Old Fitz 13. I don't know, man. I keep saying it. I don't know. I'm a Heaven Hill sucker, though. But Russell's 15 is a more distinct and crazy profile. I just love Old Fitz 13, man. You are crazy. I don't know. Look, and if you put them blind, it's not even a good blind because you know which one's which immediately. and they can't compare because of the proofs. So then you just have to have some imaginary rating system in your head to try to, you know, bring those proofs together or whatever. Dude, Kenny was not twisting my opinion. This is my opinion, Brandon. Yeah, Brian's like, he's afraid of David. I still need to meet David, man. Yeah, it's the distillery tank, Dusty. Should we just do that real quick? I mean, we're already, what are we, hour 30? We're deep, but look, I don't have rehearsal tomorrow till 2 p.m., so. Yeah. Let's, I'm going to use I have 2 Russell's 15s open. I'll use the one that's got a lot of air in it because the VVS has a lot of air in it. Again, this is not really a fair comparison side by side based on proof, but Zach Jones, get out of here, boy. There's nothing like holding one of these freaking bottles. There are still whiskeys like this that when I pick up a bottle, even in my own house, I'm like, wow, that's a great bottle, you know? Jeremy, laser coat on the Russells. This is bottled on the 15th, August 15th, so yeah. Or no, not August, sorry, April. All right, let the showdown commence. Bobby Yaga says Jack 14 year. I heard or read somewhere that was going to be Q1 of 2025. Not sure if that's true. Interesting. Interesting first nose. Phil, what's the most you'd pay for Old Fitz 13? I think what I did pay for this was $6.80 a bottle, and I bought 2, which was at the time I thought was crazy. And then they shot back up to maybe $1,000, and then they dropped back down. Nowadays they're probably around $7.50 or something like that. So the most I'd pay is probably what I paid, you know, $6.75, $6.80 a bottle. I think when you put it next to Russell's 15, the better value, no matter what you think about these 2 whiskeys side by side, Russell's 15 on secondary is a better value, even though it's $425. But realistically speaking, Russell's 15 is completely undervalued on the secondary market as compared to other things like George T. Stagg 2023, which is like $800 or something. You look at that, which is not a good whiskey. George T. Stagg 2023. It's a George T. Stagg. It's not bad whiskey, but it's grassy, and the 23 in particular was not very put together. At twice the price, and then you can get a Russell's 15, which blows it out of the water. So I think this is undervalued. So then when you look at the price of this, and I say, oh, I would pay like $6.50, $6.75, whatever, that makes sense because that's a good deal to get this for $425. Kenton Klein, what year was Old Fitz? This year. This was distilled in 1999, I think, and then tanked for like 10 years, and then they released it this year. Oh, here we go, Sam. Russell's 15 is going to dog walk Old Fitz. Here we go. Whoa, Zach Jones. All right, let's do it. Actually, let me grab these super chats before I forget. Brandon says, love to see it. All right. Thank you for the super chat, dude. Got you in. Terry said, is Russell's 15 secondary still going down? I don't really know, actually. All right, Nick. Buy more Russell's 15. Good night. Night, man. I'll get right on that. Oh. See, this is not fair. Tom Harper, what are your top 3 little books in your opinion? Can I say none of them? I'm just kidding. Little Book 3 is my favorite. I haven't really liked any of the other ones, to be real. I mean, you know what? I would probably say 3, 8, 3, 8. I don't know if I don't really have a third place. I'm not a big Little Book fan, but 3 is easily the best. I haven't had number 1. I can't remember 2. 7 had that wacky Applewood stuff in it, I think. But 7 was okay. Maybe it goes 3, 8, 7. And 8 is the rye, and that one had a lot of dill to it, and I wasn't the biggest fan, but I can understand that if you like that note, then that's a really good whiskey, because it's well put together. But I think 3 is the best. I mean, it's not. But also because it's not wacky and out there. It's just good beam whiskey. All right, so this is the Old Fitz 13. This is actually funkier than I remember it being. It's got butterscotch. It's got sweet cherry pie notes. And that, when I say butterscotch, I mean dusty butterscotch. It has vanilla cream. So all the notes that I like. But it's actually got a little bit of a dirtier, funkier thing to it than I remember. It's not all just sweet, light, Old Fitz goodness. Russell's 15. This is tighter on the nose. I know the proof's higher, but listen, dude, the Old Fitz nose wins. 100% the Old Fitz nose wins. All right, let's go in order. Old Fitz palate first. Come on. It's so sweet. Good little spice at the front. Then it turns crushable. As 100 proof wheater wood. Oh, man. Listen, Old Fitz 13 is a complete whiskey to me. And because it does fall off a little bit at some point on the palate as it gets into the finish, but it falls off like a wheater normally falls off. So stylistically, it works. I mean, come on, what do we do here? It's more savory. It's way darker. Antique oak. More leather. More gripping and tannic. Drier finish than the Old Fitz. The Old Fitz is a juicy, mouth-watering finish. The Russell's 15 is good. And it's not good. It's great. It's outstanding. They're both outstanding. So it's obviously really difficult to go from the Russell's 15 back to the Old Fitz after you've had that proof. But the Old Fitz still kind of stands up. I'm Old Fitz 13, I think. I really think I'm Old Fitz 13. Brian, yeah, man. Listen, Brian and I agree on a lot of things. And I think I'm with Brian. I think I'm an Old Fitz 13 guy. If they had Old Fitz 13 at barrel proof, I think that would be then it wouldn't be close. Like if you had probably Russell's 15 at barrel proof and Old Fitz 13 at barrel proof, I think the Old Fitz 13 would mop the floor, which is crazy to say. But also, this is my profile. This is also my profile. They're two vastly different profiles. But I do think that the comparison shows the rough around the edges qualities of the Russell's 15. And it shows the elegance of the Old Fitz 13, which I just think is round. It's a round whiskey. Heyo. And now the ultimate question. We'll just do a little bit of this. Stop the cap. All right, I'm just banging glasses all over the place at this point. Now listen. That nose is outstanding. Careful with your fancy German crystal. That blend kind of works. Yeah. Yep. The Old Fitz took over the blend, and the Russells added more backbone to the Old Fitz. Oh. All right. If you're at home and you have these two bottles, Old Fitz 13 and Russell's 15, just try a 50-50 to start. My God. Yeah. All right, so I'm going to go with this for tonight. This could change. I could spend time with these on a fresh palate and see what's up. I think this is it. My God, the finish is crazy on the blend. It's just leather all day. All right, let me get Venmo up here. That's funny, Sam. That blend is a rich man's Disco 12. That is a funny way of looking at it, but I guess you're right that the component parts are pretty much that. I mean, it's not weeded in disco, but yeah, no, you're onto something there, man. All right, let me grab some more super chats. I'm going to check PayPal as well. Give my palate a second. Give my liver and brain a second to, get acclimated to the saturation level that we're at right now. Mari, I got you in here for 4, man. Says down for 4. Thank you. And Guy is jumping in with a pretty big super chat here. Guy with 10 entries says, so revisiting Short King again, since I didn't know what to think about it at first. This stuff is really good. I like it a lot. Getting a nice zing on the palate too. Love that. Yeah, man. I think I know what you mean by the zing on this. Yeah. Yeah, man. Thank you, Guy. All right. Looks like Aaron is in for 4 with a drum emoji and a little fist bump. Thank you. And I think I've got a couple or maybe just one PayPal. What are we doing here in the chat? Oh, it's moving pretty quick. Who's drunk? Not a Cam fan. Blown palate. Let's go. Oh, you guys are some shit talkers. That's funny. That is funny. Okay, I think we've just got one PayPal here from Brian Walsh. Thank you, Brian. In for 2 entries. All right. Thanks, Brian. I didn't see a message attached to that. I don't think. Yeah, I don't think. Alrighty. Mojo, any turkey at that age is worth drinking, to be honest, at that point. Yeah, for sure. Tom, any chance you're going to blind heavy hitters soon? Oh, man, speaking of blind, I have a blind flight to do tonight. Oh, my God. Any chance you're going to blind heavy hitters soon that are available daily? So, Tom, what would you put in that category? As I think about it, well, I guess also the other question would be, what price range are you in? Are you trying to go value, or are you trying to go like, for instance, Calumet Farm 15 and 16 still sit on shelves all over the place, but they're going to be between 120 to 160. But at the same time, I would consider those to be available heavy hitters. So what are you thinking on that? No, we're going to do silver. We still have to do Silver Oak tonight. Is there anything else I missed? I was going to do this birthday bourbon thing tonight. We're not going to. I don't think I'm going to get to it. Dustin, are you still here, man? Or did you go to bed? Dustin Pullman. We got Driftless. We've got Silver Oak. Let's do Silver Oak next. We'll knock out the old Silver Oak here. Unfortunately, I should have downloaded the graph, the chart of the Silver Oak base blend before it went into the Silver Oak barrels, because there's a whole lot of stuff going on in here. Color is almost had like a, I thought I had like almost a pink hue to the color. Dustin's still here. All right, then maybe I got to do that. All right, Dustin, you gonna be mad if I don't taste birthday bourbon again tonight? I don't know if we talked about that earlier, maybe, but I know we talked about Driftless, and I'm gonna taste those for sure. Brandon, are you gonna get an OGD 16? It's on the way. It's on the way. Justin, thank you. Justin hooked it up. So hopefully that's going to get here soon. That is a top priority review for me because it is my most anticipated bottle of the year. All right, Silver Oak. Other stats? 108 proof. Trying to think about this. All right. So when I approach Silver Oak on the nose, coming off of drinking other whiskeys, so my mind is in whiskey mode, 100%. Critical whiskey mode. The first thing when I smell this, I go, wow. Like, one, that's a lot of wine. Two, it's extremely tart on the nose. And three, there is this undercurrent of weird nuttiness, and the way that the nuttiness plays in with the tart note makes it feel off-putting to me. And then when I change I'm going through this right now for the first time. I've already tasted this sample, and I thought I really didn't like it. And I'm coming off all these great whiskeys, and my first impression just now was the same thing. This is not it for me. However, I just had a moment, which is what all that me staring off was. And I started thinking about funnel cake. And this smells like funnel cake. And now I'm like in a it's like a paradigm shift. And now I'm in funnel cake mode, and this smells like a funnel cake. So for a while there, I was like, I'm in critical whiskey mode. The wine is too heavy, and the nuttiness underneath it is not working for me, and I don't know what's going on. And now I'm just thinking funnel cake. I've simplified my brain. You know when if anybody's seen the SpongeBob episode where they just delete or they burn all the files out of the filing cabinets in his brain, and all he knows how to do is be a fine dining waiter, and that's all he can do. If all I know is funnel cake, this smells like funnel cake. Yeah, elephant ears. There you go. However, the palate is very wine finished. This deserves a comparison to a brand that we were talking about earlier, which is K. Luke. Now, the proof difference is going to be significant here. Now, I don't know if Jesse's still in the chat or not, but Jesse, Whiskey Problems, this is a sample from him. 121.6 versus 108. So the Keenan Cab Reserve, another Cabernet finish. Adam, thank you, man. Hey, I just actually got the full audio back tonight. Everything's mixed now, and I put it with the video. My Premiere Pro for videos is having a really hard time with the iPhone video that we were using with it. It was a brand new iPhone 16 that Jacob, who was recording me, he had on a gimbal and he was filming. So I got to figure out what's going on, because when I export it, it's completely blown out and overexposed. But when I see the source video, it looks fine. So once I figure that out, then the cover is great, you know. And it was a one take cover on that. So the video it's just one shot through the whole video. I don't even need to edit it. I have two angles, but I might just leave it on one shot so you can see that it's just, you know, one take. But everything's done now. It sounds good. And then I'll figure out what whiskey to pair with it for the performance video. I think I might just post the cover by itself in the Patreon. Brian says HLG conversion. Premiere should have a one click. Okay. Yeah, I didn't look into it today. When I pulled the video in, I was like, well, this looks okay. And then when I exported it, it looked crazy. So then I didn't have enough time to figure out what was going on. But I've never had that problem with my iPhone, which is a 14 Pro Max. That's always been okay. Actually, you know what? Maybe it hasn't been. Now that I think about it, maybe it's been overexposed when it comes out. All right. Let's do this comparison. So Silver Oak, the nuttiness really stands out. You know what the nuttiness smells like on the nose of the Silver Oak? In the video that I posted today, the What's That Whiskey episode, when I tasted the Old Kentucky 13-year, which was KBD, bottled in 1988, 94 proof, 13-year, pre-Willet, there is a note in that whiskey, which is on a lot of dusty whiskeys, which I call like a fatty cashew note. The Silver Oak has that note. This is the K. Luke Keenan. The K. Luke Keenan is more fruit-driven and a touch of savory, rubbery quality, but not enough for me to be put off by. A little bit more of that on the palate, though. A little bit rubbery. Still very good. Silver Oak now. I'm probably going to go Silver Oak, actually. As heavy as that wine finish is, I'm probably going to go Silver Oak. To me, when you smell and taste that whiskey, you just need to shift your brain away from, classic Kentucky bourbon, analytical mindset, and go into dessert mode and funnel cake mode. And that's where the appreciation comes from. And I would not have even thought that until I tasted it just now for, I think, a third time. My first two tastings, I was completely put off by this whiskey. So, there you go. Jesse says Keenan is a heavier, it is a more wine-forward finish. You get more of whatever the base whiskey is in the Silver Oak, I think. And I don't know that I've ever noticed the slight tinge of that rubberiness on the Keenan until now. Maybe I have. I would be hard-pressed to find where I've talked about this whiskey before. Because I feel like I've tasted this sample quite a number of times now on different streams and used it to compare. Yeah, exactly. The funnel cake with the fruit, on the top. Raspberry, blackberry preserves, 100%. Both are outstanding whiskeys, I think. Ben, I have not tried the Woodford Sonoma. No, I haven't. I'm pretty over Woodford Reserve at this point, I would say. Until, Woodford Reserve to me is like a maker's mark where you got to start doing something different, or else I can't justify going and trying the Maker's Heart release when you're basically going to get the same thing on Maker's 46 cask, besides the fact that the staves are toasted or not toasted. So Woodford's the same thing. Get a freaking age statement on your product. Just something else. Oh, jeez. We almost lost a Angel's Envy Triple Oak. Okay. I think it's Driftless Glen time, finally. Yeah, looking around the table, it's Driftless Glen time. And then it's blind flight time. So the blind flight will be the last thing we do. Justin, bro, we're going to be pretty sauced up for this blind. We will do the giveaway after I taste these Driftless Glens. That's what we'll do. And yeah, we'll do that. Let me grab a few fresh glasses. Actually, for the Driftless, I'll go ahead and use... Yeah, I'll go ahead and use some of these glasses for the Driftless. Kagan, I have to fully admit, by me saying that, I'm only talking on stats. And other folks have said that they're similar, and I have not tasted for myself, so I should probably not have said that, and you're probably right. That if they are different, and the difference would make sense if the Heart has toasted staves and the 46 does not, or vice versa, virgin versus toasted. But either way, Makers is not my profile. So maybe I'm a little overly critical of Makers also because it's not my profile, but also it feels like they're not reinventing their brand in any way besides the cellar release that they've done. And then the same thing for Woodford. It's like you got the batch proofs, which are way overpriced for what they are for some reason. Yeah. Yeah, Derek, I talked about River Roots 18 probably about 45 minutes ago, or maybe 30. Jesse, if my wife only lets me buy one of the Driftless, buy the rye. Buy the rye. The bourbon's great. The bourbon is more of a specific profile, which we'll talk about here. All right, so we got some fresh glasses now. Brian tried the new Maker's Cellar. Yeah. Same here, man. It's fine. It's fine. But it is lacking something. So from left to right, here's what we're going to do. Let's start with the bourbon. So these are all the Driftless picks. And I just love Driftless labels. And the bottle shape. I just think the presentation of Driftless is spot on. All right. So for anybody on the fence about the Patreon, shameless plug, these do drop tomorrow. Starting at 1 p.m. in the top tier. So the order from left to right for you guys is going to be the 8-year bourbon, the 8.5-year rye, and then we're going to round this out with a 6-year bourbon. But I'll tell you, about this one. Here, I'm going to adjust this mic so we can move over the bottles. Kagan, I hear you. I was indifferent on the neck pour, but after a month of air, it's evolved well, almost like German chocolate cake. And was Kagan? Remind me, was the excuse me, was the heart release the one with the toasted staves? Because what you're saying with the German chocolate cake makes me think maybe it had the toasted ones. And that also does make sense because I think anything staved or finished needs airtime. It just always does. Junior Fuentes says, supporting a fellow maggot. Still haven't seen your blast beats from today's video. Recently joined the Patreon. Looking forward to your last picks of the year. Hopefully I can pick them up. Thanks, man. Dude, yeah. So Slipknot was my progression of bands, just real quick, when I was younger. The first band that was like my band that I liked, and it wasn't me listening to music from my parents. Like my dad was listening to Dokken and George Lynch Mob and just all sorts of Iron Maiden. He was listening to all sorts of 80s kind of hair metal stuff, Van Halen. My mom was listening to country at the time. I remember hearing a lot of Toby Keith growing up and maybe Tim McGraw. And then my first band that I liked from myself was Green Day. And then from there, I went to Avenged Sevenfold. And then, so I was my transition from kind of punk-ish to metal-ish. And then I went to Slipknot. And then from there, I went full downhill into death metal quickly. It was a quick progression. But Slipknot, listening to the self-titled, listening to Iowa, Volume 3, those were that was my jam. And then, the Gray Chapter and a lot of that stuff I didn't listen to. Same thing with Avenged Sevenfold. I didn't listen to the stuff after the Rev died. And then I came back to those bands much later. So I saw Avenged Sevenfold live back in March, I think. But I didn't know half the stuff they played because I just never listened to those albums. But now that Slipknot's doing their 25th anniversary tour, I'm like, man, I would love to go see that because I know all the songs are going to play on that tour. Anyways, it's, let me get your super chats in there. Let's see. In for 2. All right, gotcha. Let me make sure I didn't miss any super chats, by the way, just in the live stream. I'll scroll back down here in a second. I don't think so. I don't think I missed anything. Although I just saw something. Nick and Brandon. I think we're the last ones, actually. Bennuaine guy. Aaron. Yep. I think we're good. Oh, someone said Kill Switch. Ben, I had a Kill Switch phase 06. I was in 6th grade. And I saw Kill Switch live with Parkway Drive and Dillinger Escape Plan. And that was crazy, man. Kill Switch Engage. I didn't even think about. I didn't even think about them. So Brian, I never had a Between the Buried and Me face. Never really had that one, unfortunately. A7X was sick live. Saw them with Metallica a few years back. Yeah, man. And Brooks, Brooks is so freaking good. Oh my god. I love, and listen, the new Avenged Sevenfold album, I'm a big fan. It's a totally different direction for them, and I am such a fan of it. Alrighty. I think there's a few more super chats coming in. I'll get them in a second, guys. I see Parker's talking a little bit of shit here in the old PayPal. All right. Let's dive in. Hayden, how much would you pay for a pour of Michter's 25 rye? Well, I know what those go for on secondary, so I know that a normal cost is going to be in the 4 figures for 1 ounce. And I would not pay that ever for an ounce of whiskey. My top ounce pour is about $300, I think. I don't think I could justify to myself paying more than $300. Let's just go off the deep end here, which is again unrealistic, and say that I would pay $500 for an ounce of Michter's 25 rye. But that would never happen. That's like a $35,000 bottle on secondary. So I've accepted that I'll never taste that bottle unless somebody is holding out, you know? All right. Let's go Driftless real quick on these. So we're going to start with the 8-year bourbon. This is aged in Kelvin for 8 years. 125 proof. And I don't think there's anything else to really say about it. All right, on the nose. To me, this smells like plums and coffee cake. And I've been talking about this bottle as being like an imperial stout in whiskey form. It's not finished, nothing like that, but it's chocolatey. It's coffee through and through. And a little bit of like a honey, dark honey sweetness to it, actually. I don't think I called that out in my tasting notes in Patreon. Palate is intense. Bittersweet. So, if you're not a coffee person, or a stout person, maybe, this will not be for you. And I've been trying to be very clear about that in the Patreon. You know, we have only 120 bottles of this barrel. Pretty short barrel for only 8 years old. But if you're not a coffee drinker and you don't like coffee flavors, you're just not going to like this bourbon. If you are a coffee drinker or a stout drinker, you're going to go crazy for this bourbon. Part of me, you know, when I taste it, I'm like, is this stout finished? It's not, which then thinking about how these flavors are happening, I don't have a solution to that, you know? It's so dark. It's a heavy whiskey. Brandon, what does that mean? GBCB-esque. GB. I'll just let you tell me, because I can't think of it. Michter's was $1,400 a pour at the distillery. Is that for the 25 rye, Jason? Oh, no. This is not like Garrison Brothers. I don't think so. You know what? I can grab Cowboy real quick. All right, so I found a 2023 sample from Jeb, 140 proof, so this is going to be a little hotter, but no, not close. No, it doesn't taste craft like that. That's why I like this, is it tastes like coffee and chocolate and stout, but not in a craft way. Woo! That is all right, how does a coffee present itself? I get a lot of coffee and dark chocolate and ASM, and it never really does it for me, but coffee with bourbon sweetness, I think it presents itself more in that realm. Like, I can still smell caramel sauce bourbon notes underneath the coffee. And spice. Like, the spice comes off like a traditional bourbon spice, not like a craft whiskey spice. So there's like here's, maybe I would say, like, there's a top note of the spices, and then this middle note of bourbon caramels. And then all of the underpinning of the whiskey is the chocolate coffee stuff. But there's enough of the other notes sitting on top of it to let you know that it's still a bourbon. I don't know. Like, I'm actually really interested to see what people say about this. And I hope they don't shy away from it, because I'm like, when you say all those chocolate and coffee notes, maybe some people think craft whiskey. It doesn't taste like that to me. It tastes legitimately like coffee and chocolate with bourbon. Yeah, maybe more like Boulder without the top note, which is like juicy fruit gum. I think I took my Boulder downstairs already. Yeah, I don't have it up here, but probably a little bit more like that. Yeah. Is it malty? I think there is 20% malt actually in the mash. I don't find it to be particularly malty. I did call out that dark honey note. Maybe that's from the malt, but because I haven't picked that up before. But no, I don't find it particularly malty. So you know what? I hope that at $55 people don't, like, I hope this is not a crazy gamble for that price point. But I think it's good. You know, we wouldn't have picked this because we tasted a lot of their bourbons. This is the one we had a hard time finding a good bourbon at this age at Driftless. Like, we were going through a lot of barrels. And I think it's because we started going specifically into Kelvin's that we found this barrel. And then we were like, oh, we're in love with this. We're going to pick this. It was a pretty easy decision once we got to this barrel. Dragon's Milk. Are you talking about the beer, or are you talking about, like, the origin stuff they do, like the whiskeys? Yeah, I don't know, man. It does remind me of the beer, actually. You know? All right, let's keep going. Let's keep going through to the rye. No, it's not quite like the Origin either, because I'm not a fan of that. The Origin has that hoppy note on the finish. Okay, so the rye, to me, I know it's the freaking year of the rye. It really is. Oh, speaking of which, I don't know how many people in this chat right now are not in the Patreon. And if you're not, then you probably haven't seen this. So let me put a few files in here very quickly. Okay. I think it should be these two. So speaking of Year of the Rye, this is going to be the next rye from River Roots. This is just a mock-up of the label. I know it says Broken Palates Whiskey Club on Selected By, on, you know, that vertical thing. But that's just a placeholder. That was a previous group. But I put our graphic on here. So I made this graphic. This is, you know, AI generated, the tree graphic. And then Year of the Rye. This is going to be our 12, almost 13-year rye whiskey from River Roots at about 109 proof. So that's going to be pretty cool. And then just to show you the other one, this is the LE that's coming in November. So we've got the this is my favorite graphic we've ever done for a label, called Opus 1 for our first limited edition release for the channel. And we've got the turkey on there, the King Turkey, because it was finished in a turkey barrel. It's 10-year legacy bourbon from a distillery in Bardstown. I can't say exactly where, but you can surmise that. Finished in a turkey barrel for a year, 130 proof, 10 years old plus one more year in the barrel. It's going to be expensive, but 90 to 100 bottles, and I thought the label was pretty cool. So we now have a pick officially called Year of the Rye. Yeah, Jesse, I'm not going to argue with what you're wondering here. Here, I'll put it back on the screen real quick. Just to think about it a little bit more. Can't say where it's from, but the label is made for a reason. Toshi, the Mouth Wizard, you know what the Mouth Wizard pick could be? The 15-year that we're doing from River Roots. I think the 15-year could be the Mouth Wizard pick. Dude, Derek, I love the Year of the Rye label. I love it. I think it is like the cleanest thing, and that's why I'm happy about it. He's standing on a family estate. Oh, Parker, that's the... You win tonight, dude. You win tonight. Oh my God, that's funny. Okay, let's go to the Driftless Rye. I got to do this damn giveaway, guys. The Driftless Rye also has a chocolate note from the bourbon, but it's more in the background. This is more of a root beer rye. And it reminds me of the Evernorth ryes that we picked, actually. So it's root beer. There is a very solid, just like laser-focused cherry note in the middle of this. And you know what's funny is that's exactly what I said about the Evernorth ryes that we picked, specifically the one that I picked. Sarah's was a little bit of a dirtier profile, but I said that mine had a laser-focused cherry note, and that was also a Kelvin barrel. So this is an 8.5-year rye. Excuse me, at 125 proof. The top note on here is a little different, though. This is a grapefruit and melon top note. Typical Driftless Glen rye whiskeys, when you get barrel picks from places, they will be around this proof, around 125. But many times they taste like peach rings, and that's a note that I get made fun of for saying too much. But they will taste so much like peach rings that you think they're finished whiskey, finished in an apricot brandy barrel. This is not that, and we specifically picked this barrel because it did not taste like peach rings like all the other barrels that we tasted of their ryes. It does have a fruity top note, which I said was grapefruit and melon. It does come out of the glass more as the whiskey airs out, but there's so much of that root beer character underneath it and that chocolate base that I think this is a $55 whiskey at 8.5 years old from Driftless in a Kelvin barrel. Like the value on this is pretty crazy. A little more fruit on the palate than the nose. Like up front, it's very much that cherry grapefruit combo on the front of the palate. And then the root beer hits you as it gets deeper into the experience. Man. Yeah, Sam, those hills, man, they look heavenly, huh? Dirtier equals better, says Devin. Oh, you're ruthless, dude. Brandon, Doc Swenson's, you had 15-year at Evernorth. If that's from the old, if that's old Doc Swenson's, like the stuff from 2020, because I don't know if they've done anything since then. Maybe they have some of the new 15-year barrels, but those would be different sources. The old stuff from Doc Swenson's was the 78.5% corn mystery mash toted stuff that was floating around. But Doc Swenson's, I had a batch 9 that was so good. The stuff that we were tasting, or the stuff that River Roots has that we're going to do a pick of the 15-year, is different. And everybody keeps saying it's one thing, and it's not exactly that one thing. Russ is in the chat talking some shit. Brandon, no, it's not the same. Okay, and last but not least, oh, Russ, man, come on. Ooh, Russ is talking some mad shit in the chat. I'm just kidding, Russ. All right. Last but not least, 6 years old. Not a Kelvin barrel for this one. This is the short barrel, 22 bottles, 124 proof. Not 125. Yeah, crazy. 22 bottles. Zach Cooperage for this one. Oh, man. Come on. Russ, I'm sick as hell. Sarah tonight wasn't feeling great either, actually, but couldn't resist. Man. The linger on the palate of this is so crazy. So when we pulled the sample out of the barrel at Driftless, well, we really didn't pull the sample out of the barrel because we drilled it, and then we drilled lower, and then we were at the bottom ring, of the barrel head drilling, and nothing was coming out. Just this little spurt. And so we got out what we could, and I took a sip of it. We all smelled it, and then there was only enough for one sip, and it was full of sawdust, from drilling into the barrel. And then it tasted like funky cheesecake when we were there. Now that I have it here, it still tastes like funky cheesecake, but with a berry sauce on it. Little graham cracker note. And I think Dustin may have said this note, and he has a bottle of this stuff for helping at the pick, and he shipped the straggler bottles my way. So he's got a bottle of this that he's probably sipping along with. I think he said maybe like a caramel macchiato note, and I'm right there with it. It's like cheesecake, funky cheesecake, caramel macchiato, and berry sauce. And it's actually a little sharp on the nose because it is a 6-year bourbon. So a little sharp, but then on the palate, palate is crazy. So broad. The linger is wild. And it could not be more different from the coffee bourbon. So what I like about this lineup from Driftless is that we have 3 completely distinct profiles. Yeah. Alrighty. So we are going to be done here. Let's do the giveaway now, guys. If you have any entries you want to make, which I am not pressuring anybody to do that. You've been overly generous this evening. Make them quickly, because I'm going to put everything together here and share my screen, and we'll get that through. I am going to put the last of the Super Chats in now. Let's see what we have left here. I think a couple Venmos and a couple PayPals. Yeah. All right, Brooks. He's going to be in for 1. Thank you, Brooks. Says, cheers. Thanks, Cam. Thank you. Morgan O'Neill in for 2. Says in for 2. And Tim Peterson is going to be in for 3. And says cheers. Cheers to you guys. Thank you. And I think Russ just jumped in. Russ jumped in for 4. Thanks, Russ. Russ, I've got a single malt that I have to send you a sample of, dude. And you got to put it next to your last drop. I've got to get your thoughts on the comparison. All right. Now on to the PayPal, because I think we are wrapped there. Oh, all right, Mr. Whiskey Rambler. What's up, dude? Another victim of the Driftless Glen pick. Toshi, Cam, thanks for getting creative on how more folks can get their hands on the short barrel. Love the 8 ounce. Yeah, in this case, I think it's the only way that we can do it. I would hate to have, to drop that barrel and half the people don't get it. Actually, less than half, because the pick team would have to get theirs first. It would have been a bummer. And I thought about trying to give the pick team, everybody in the pick team, a bottle. But then if we gave everybody on the pick team a bottle, I don't think there'd be enough to get through doing 8 ounces. We would do even less than 8 ounces for everybody. So 8 ounces to me feels like a respectable amount where you can sit with that whiskey for 3 to 5 sessions, you know? All right, Adam, thank you for jumping in, man. Okay, get you in for 1, and I think I've got to do PayPal now. Oh yeah, that's right. Mr. Parker Sutton just talking some smack in PayPal. Parker says, old Fitz over Russell's 15. Starting to think Christine is onto something with this Cam guy. And if you guys don't know what that means, that's okay. All right, let's do the giveaway now. Let me share my screen. We still have 150 people in here. We're 2.5 hours deep. That's crazy. So listen, saturation level right now, I'm probably at about a 60%, 65% maybe. We're going to do a blind flight. I'm going to get 4 clean glasses. We're going to do this blind flight from Justin. And if you want to stick around, that would be awesome. And if you want to bounce, catch the replay, or just get out of here, I completely understand. It's been a long night. But thanks for being here, guys. 150 is crazy. And if you haven't hit that like button or subscribe, please do so. Again, shameless plugs. We're almost at 10K on the channel, which is very, very cool. Alrighty, now let's do the old screen share. All right, so as many of you know, the way we do this is your name is on the left. I've got to check how many folks we have that entered. Oh, this is going to be fine. It's going to be quick. Names are on the left. Your name, and to the right of your name is how many entries you put in at a given time. So Toshi, $100 super chat divided by $5 per entry is 20 entries. His name then auto-populates 20 times here, etc., etc. For instance, Mark Gillikin entered twice. So Mark is here, 4 entries, $5 a piece is a $20 super chat. And he also entered down here, another $20 super chat. Right, so 4 entries. So if you entered twice, your name will appear twice. Morning special Nick, which is how I had him put in here, entered once for 5 and once again for 5. So check if I've got you right. Toshi down to Nick, and then we will do, after that, Maury to the end. All right. So you have about 60 seconds if there's any mistakes. If there is a mistake and you're not here right now and you catch this replay, then what I'll do is I'll add you into the next giveaway that we do on the channel, and I'll give you like a bonus entry or something as well for the mistake. But I think we're good to go tonight. We will find out. Casket Salesman says, I'm about to do a head-to-head of Short King and Bourbon 6, so I'm here for the long haul. Nice. Brandon, after hours party starts now. Yeah, it's crazy that we still have 150 people here. This is the most we've ever had, I think, at the end of, like the giveaway and stuff. And I know we're going to have people fall off right after this, but pretty crazy, man. Every day, I cannot believe how the channel's doing. Really, really fun. All right, so now we're going to scroll down, and we're going to go, from Nick, and then down to the bottom, down to Parker. So just check your entries. If you see a mistake, let me know. Oh, we do have one more Venmo Super Chat. I should enter this. This is from Ricky Johnson. In for 2. So you guys can watch me do this in real time. He's in for 2 entries. Gavin says, this is where I come to nerd out about whiskey. Thanks, man. Brandon, it is incredible. And, you know, the channel still is growing very slowly. Faster than it was, but still slowly. But the Patreon is the thing that I cannot believe. I'm still pinching myself over that. Because, like, the Patreon where it is now, the way that I would phrase it is that it's, like, fully funded. In the sense that if I want to, once a month, fly anywhere in the country to do a barrel pick, the channel can pay for it, and it's not a big deal. That's so crazy to me. It's like not next month, but in November, like I'm going to fly down to Mississippi, and we're going to go to Crittenden's just to pick probably 1 barrel. Maybe it could be 2, but probably just 1 barrel. And just for that 1 barrel, it's like I can fly down and do that and meet Matt Crittenden, and that's so exciting. Guy, did I put 10 for you? Guy, I think it was just 10, man, actually. Yeah, Guy was it was a $50 super chat, Guy. Unless I missed another one. Let me scroll back. I think it was 50, actually, Guy. Let me know. Jesse says, Cam, I think you probably have the largest Patreon percentage among subscribers. Yeah, it is a shocking conversion rate, I guess, if you want to say that. Steve, I've Zachary, no, I can get you in, man. I can get you in, but we've got to cut it off now because we got to get into the giveaway. Thank you, man. Steve said, I've learned so much and spent quality money on whiskey. Thanks to you. Much appreciated. Thanks, Steve. Look, as long as I'm not steering people wrong, and if I am, I want people to tell me that. So you guys can see that I just copied that list into random.org. We're going to spin this 7 times. So there we go. There's the paste from Toshi down to Zachary. Let me confirm I didn't miss anything on my phone. All right, I think we are good to go. Let's spin it 7 times. First 2 winners. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And again, thank you guys for all your support tonight. 7. All right, here we go. We've got Steve and we've got Maury. Toshi in 3rd, then Jason, then Jeremy. So let me take a picture of this so I don't forget tomorrow. All right. So congrats to Steve and Maury. Congrats, guys. Appreciate you all. So let's do a blind flight. Steve, I should say this. Please, if you don't mind, shoot me an email with your address just so I have it. Just remind me that you won tonight so I don't forget this. drumsanddrams@gmail.com. Just shoot me your address. Oh, to be young again. Yeah, I don't know. This is one of those situations where I'm like, I probably shouldn't do this, but it was on the thumbnail. I could always change the thumbnail immediately upon ending the stream, but that short barrel Driftless is a fun whiskey. All right. Now it's game time. Where is the Z-Biotic sponsorship? Nowhere to be found. No sponsorships on this channel. Terry says Cam is adding a new dimension to blind. Oh God, that's funny. All right, let me unwrap these samples. I should have done this before the stream, but alas, here we are. Brandon said yet. All right, I'm going to turn the music up in my ears so I can try to get pumped up for this blind. I apologize if this is loud on the microphone. I've got to do this 4 times. That's not bad. Oh, Jeremy's talking about the zooms. All right. Justin, how do you wrap these things, dude? This is like... makes me feel very stupid. There we go. There we go. Good Lord, man. Yeah, I should have done this before the stream. That's on me, guys. I could just probably just rip these off the top. Or just unscrew the tops and go for it. All right, so sample D. Let's go ahead and get this poured out. The full ounce. That looks very dark, actually. Okay. And I've got sample B unwrapped. Not quite as dark on that one. You know, Jeremy, I do like doing long live streams. I think it's a fun... it's just a fun format. And what I'm doing nowadays is the most I'm streaming is twice a month. Like, I'm trying not to do 3 weeks in a row. If I do 2 weeks in a row, that's fine, but I like to take 2 weeks off afterwards. You know, for my body and everything. Like, and tonight, I've gone through a lot of whiskey. And yes, like, I'm, you know, a decent percentage saturated. But at the same time, I think I've gotten much better at taking small sips. Okay. Well. And then I do that, right? Taking small sips and staying decently hydrated and you know, monologuing enough between. It is a certain skill set, I guess. Like, you learn a lot live streaming. I will say that. Live streaming and barrel picking. A lot of similarities. Oh, Derek's getting into Disco 3. Yeah, Disco 3. Man, that... Look, I've tasted Disco 3 since it came out, and I'm like, this doesn't quite hold up to where I used to place it in my all-time rankings, but I still have a very soft spot for Disco 3. Yeah, that glass 4 looks dark. All right, so let's see here. Test card looks good as far as focus goes. I'm not going to put the cards under the glasses. I'll just keep them in front of me here. Sarah wrote these just before the stream started. I will grab... a notebook to keep track. Casket, is Disco 1 the GOAT? Probably Disco 2. Sorry, I muted my mic. Disco 1 has a lot. I don't know what you heard or didn't hear. I think Disco 2 usually wins, is what I was saying in a blind. 3 usually doesn't do as well because it gets muted in there because it's like muted. That's funny. Because it's 110 proof. Disco 4 will stand out often because of the nuttiness, and it has a personality to it. And Disco 2 will usually win because of the spice. Disco 1 is more nondescript because it's mostly Barton in the blend, and it feels like it has less personality, I think. They're all so good. Yeah, sorry. I put this notebook hit my M key on my keyboard, and it muted me. All right, so this is going to be, what day is it? 9/26, 24. This is Justin Blind 2. We'll go A, B, C, D. It's time to make some guesses. Jesse says, one trick I've learned when doing house blends is the slop jar. Basically, a mason jar I empty my glass into. After I try the blend, good test is how the blend compares to the slop jar. That's interesting. All right, let's go on to this blind now. Cool. Yeah, Toshi, barely 926. Yeah, exactly. Right. I'm going to go down the line on the noses quickly before I show you guys anything. Okay. Interesting. Glass 2. Cinnamon. Glass 3. Very very beamy on glass 3. Oh, glass 4 smells ridiculous. That's super cherry. Very dark. Okay, let's do this now. Let me show you glass A. I'll turn my head. Just a reminder, 126 in here. Usually there's not this many people at the end. Please no spoilers in the chat. Whatever I show you, if it says Elijah Craig, don't start talking about Elijah Craig, obviously. Don't start talking about Heaven Hill. Don't make some joke about the father of bourbon and the story of Elijah. Like, just let it go and just hang out and talk about whatever's going on in the chat. So here's glass A. This is what I'm about to get into. Let me put it down. I want to grab my glass. All right. This is what I'm smelling right now. Strawberry candy. Bright fruits. This is bright pears, kind of in the melon territory a little bit. A little bit of a, what would I call that? Like a white cake kind of note to that. Smells fine, sharp on the nose. Proof feels high, 125-ish. Crawls up your nose, menthol. Don't love it on the nose. Jep the Creed. All right, let's do the palate. I'm trying to think of what reminds me of Little Book 6 or 7, sort of. God, the one had like such strong strawberry notes. Very intense palate. I mean, totally tracks with the nose, too. Everything I said on the nose is there. Finish is getting a little bit darker. More char and chocolate on the finish. I'm not going to have any idea what this is, but I can definitely guess stats. Matt, what's up, dude? Popping in to say hi. Cheers. Love you. Kamalima ding dong. Hope you're good, man. I'm going to say proof 125 plus. The age on this. Why is it? This could be like a Canadian, like a finished Canadian whiskey or something along those lines. Because when I get so this has a distinct strawberry note to it. When I get a really distinct strawberry or a really distinct like blueberry at this proof, which feels high and hot, sometimes it's like, the Backbone Canadian that was rebarreled, or Helldiver, which is found north. It has a feel like that a little bit. But it also feels like a Little Book. But I think it's something off the wall. I don't think this is your standard bourbon. Unless it's like a Stag Junior Batch 15. That's a lot of things I just said. Sorry. There's no giveaways for me on this as far as the bottle goes. So this is going to be a pure stats guess on glass one. There's no like super aged component in the finish either. Nope. All right. I'm going to keep it moving on this. The age could be deceptive because this could be a Canadian whiskey. If it's a like let's say it's a bourbon or a rye, it's like 6 to 7. Or it's like a Canadian 16, All right, let's go to glass two. The other thing that makes me think possibly Canadian on that, besides the strong strawberry note, is the menthol that I got, the lifted feel. I think Justin's trying to throw me off with this flight. This feels like a throw you off kind of flight. Because glass two, this has a burnt caramel kind of note to it. Possibly double oaked or toasted. Lower proof. All right, let me show you B. I'm going to suck on this flight. I can tell you already I'm going to suck on this flight. All right, here's glass B. I'm going to smell it while I show you. Man, little bit of like a... So I said this burnt caramel. I don't know if you can see this. I said like a burnt caramel note. I'm getting more of a butterscotch actually on this now. It almost has a dusty quality to it. I don't know. All right. I'm going to take a drink of water. I'm going to come back to these on the nose. I got to reset to some degree. Okay, let's do it. I'm going to go back to glass A very quickly. Oh, God, that's a tricky fucking whiskey. It smells older now. Oh, but it still smells older in a Canadian way. I don't think it's a Scotch or Irish. I just have to think that's Canadian. If it's light whiskey, I'm going to be pissed because I hate light whiskey and I don't get the note that I don't like on that one. Glass 2 is still super confusing to me. Proof is not high. It's like 107-ish. Glass 2. God, I'm saying 9 years old. Loose guess. That's based on this being an American whiskey. These are confusing because they like the first two feel like they could be finished Canadian whiskeys. And when I say finished, I mean like maybe just in a new American oak barrel or something. But they're not screaming bourbon to me. Okay, so glass 3 or C. This feels a little bit more definitively like bourbon. Cam's going to need food to desaturate. I have some. Oh, yeah, I have tacos in the fridge. Don't worry. All right, let me show you glass C. And I'll tell you what I think about this. So, glass C has, I'm going to rattle things off. One, first thing I got, George Dickel vibe. I got a minerality to this. Then I thought, well, look, it's not as mineral as George Dickel, which leads me to Jack Daniels. Leads me to the Lincoln County process on this. Proof is not super high. So I smell this and I think, okay, Jack Daniels or Lincoln County process with decent age to it, actually. This could be a Jack 10. This could be a Jack 12. Proof would be the determining factor of those. So in my mind, I'm in Lincoln County process territory. Little banana too. So I feel like I'm spot on with this guess that it's a Jack Daniels product. Proof, on the other hand, a bit high. Higher than I thought. So I got to figure this out. But I think I'm pretty sold on that being Jack Daniels. Interesting. And now I come back to it, and now I'm getting a yeast note. And so it's like, this happens all the time on Jack products and MGP, where it's like the yeast thing throws me off. I thought Jack for sure. My second guess now was like, well, I'm getting this MGP yeast. Could be Boulder cast strength. The first three, I feel the best about C. Just recognizing profile, attributes that feel distinct. The first two, glass 2 smells like a weeder. Glass 2 smells like a weeder. That's why you got to do these side by side. What would that be? The proof doesn't make sense. It feels old Fitzy, and I said this about Justin's last flight. That feels like old Fitz. All right. And then glass 1 or glass A. These are all starting to come into focus a little bit more. Interesting. It's the saturation. It's the saturation. All right, let's go to glass 4, which is the... Yeah. Oh, God. Okay. All right. Let's see what's going on here. Let me show you glass 4, or D. Saturation is an amazing term. John and I can't claim that. That is fully on Kenny. All right, here you go. Here's the last one. This smells so good. Oh, my God. super sweet. Vanilla cream, so I'm in love. Teeny bit of a rubbery note, but it's 5% in the background. Which, to me, is just telling me that this is extremely oaky, extremely old. Wow. This is a grapey, plummy, dark, dry fruit-like extravaganza. Oh, my Jesus. Wow, that's good. That's good whiskey. It's a little sharp on the palate. I wish the body of the whiskey was 20% more, and that would be substantial. That is... What is that? What is that? Man. All right, down the line. All right. This is such a hard flight. And I don't know if it's just the alcohol and the time of night, or if it really is this hard of a flight. I tell you what. What's so funny is when I record those What's That Whiskey episodes, I'm usually, like, I'll do an episode of that after I shoot one review because I get my palate warm on the review. And I also have like a frame of reference on one sip. And then I go into the, the blind, whether it's one pour or three this week. And I feel like on a lot of these What's That Whiskey so far, I've done pretty decently actually. And now I'm so deep into the live stream and I'm in this flight and I'm just like, I don't even have my bearings of what these whiskeys are. And as far as like sobriety goes, yes, I've been drinking whiskey tonight. I feel it. But I feel like I should be able to pick more up on these whiskeys than I am right now. And I'm just wondering, then it makes me wonder, is this as tricky as I think it is? Man, I mean, this feels all over the place to me. Yeah, we're about 3 hours in, huh? What's up, Mike? Welcome back. It has to be Johnny Walker Red, said Travis. If only it would put these to shame. Glass 1 still feels weird to me, for sure. Glass 2 has that Heaven Hill Weeder thing going on. But last time this happened, I said that, and it was a Michter's 10-year bourbon from Justin. The proof on that is got to be higher, though. I said 107 at first. I'm right there, but I said 9 years. I really like Glass 2 a lot. Let's go to Glass 3 again. I said Jack Daniels. I think this is probably MGP, actually. I'm going to hate myself for changing my mind on this, but I'm going to say MGP, 117 proof. Say it's 8 years old. I think it's deceptively old. I'm gonna say it's a rare character pick. Glass 4. Oh, that Glass 4 smells amazing. Let me remind you what is in glass 4 or D. Proof. High. 122, 123. So good. Favorite, probably my favorite of the blind. I'll change that answer. All right, so I have some guesses now laid down. Steve says, figured it out now. Definitely user error. Should have my email now. Okay, cool. Cool. All right, last time through, and then we are going to get some guesses in and settle this. Glass 1 is probably the most confusing of the bunch. I said 125 plus, 6 to 7 years old if American or Canadian, around 16. It could be a light whiskey. I'm going to say Canadian, 16 years old. I'm going to say I feel good about my proof guesses on some of these others, so I'm going to use them as a point of comparison. Yeah, I'm going to say 128 proof, Canadian, 16-year, re-barreled, I will say. No bottle guess. The only one I would have is like, it's either like, I would say Found North or Backbone. All right, so that's fairly locked in. Maury says having some. Yeah, man. Maury, did you send me a message earlier? If you did, let me see. The answer is yes. Yeah. Okay. Glass 2, let's lock this in. So 107, I'll remind you guys what's in this glass. Hang on. Rearrange. Here's glass B or glass 2. All right, here you go. I cannot get enough of the nose of this whiskey. Man, it tastes like an old Heaven Hill Weeder. I said 107. It's drinking a little bit soft now. All right. Let me think this through. This is probably another Michter's 10-year. It's probably the same freaking Michter's 10-year from last time. Jesse, I've got to say that this is I mean, it feels like a weeder, you know? God. It's a bourbon, I feel like. The palate is not a weeder, though. The palate has too much rye spice. I don't know. And I think I mean, I said 107 proof. I just don't have a bottle guess. I'm going to say it's a bourbon. 107, 9 years old. That's all I've got. No finish. All right, glass 3 or C. This has to be MGP. Has to be. I said 8 years, 118 proof. Rare character pick. It's higher than 118. This is like 130, 127. It drinks young. Let's say 128 proof. I'm gonna stick with 8 years old, but I think it drinks young. I'm gonna get rid of rare character pick. I don't know what it is, but MGP 8 years old. Finally, glass 4. All right. Glass 4 is amazing. It smells like, it's got like dusty butterscotch. It has a little vibe of Coy Hill, but not at the proof. I have no idea. I said 122 proof. That's the only thing I have written on my paper. That's so good. That feels like 14 years old. Feels like a bourbon. What is that? What is that whiskey? It's got to be Legacy. It's higher than 122. It's got to be higher. So what is C? It's higher than C. 130. I'm going to go 130. It could be Coy Hill. It really could. But it would be a low. Well, all right. We're going to spill that all over this freaking journal. If it's a Coy Hill, it's low proof. Oh, is this King of Kentucky? Or old? This could be President's Choice, actually. Interesting. I don't know. All right. Let's do this. Let me check the chat. Now I'm feeling it. My favorite to least favorite of this blind. D is my favorite. B is my second. A is third, and C is last. So let's start with last place. Last place, I said Glass C, MGP. I raised my proof guess to 128, which seems very high for MGP. MGP 128, 8 years, bourbon. Let's see. Wow, weird. Bardstown rye store pick, finished in toasted cherry. You know, it's the Bardstown rye finish that they do. 121.2 proof. Wow, it's just not my jam. It smells young. It's very, very yeasty. And my initial guess was 118 proof, which was 3 proof points away. My final guess, 128, was 7 away, so I got worse. I did not guess finished. I would have never guessed finished on this. Never. I smell it now, but no. All right, so there's that. All right, so third place tonight was, I think it was Glass A. It was Glass A. All right, let's do this. Glass A, I said 128 proof, rebarreled, Canadian 16-year whiskey. Oh, Jesus, what is this going to be? It's not going to be that. Well, I don't know. Oh, my God. Thomas Handy? I said one. So initially, my first guess was 120 proof. Then I said 128. It's 124.9. I'll take that. I said if it was wow, if it was an American whiskey, I said 6 to 7 years old. Thomas Handy is 6 to 7 years old. But I said it's a Canadian, so it's 16. No, not true. This did not come off like Thomas Handy to me. No. It's fine. It's not worth secondary. I see it now. I see it on the palate. It's got that lemon starburst, like star anise note on the palate. Man, this is a tough flight. I suck. Yeah, Derek, you said strawberry, but I get... Yeah. All right. Third place, second place is going to be Glass B. Man. I said it was a Heaven Hill Weeder. But then 107 proof, 9 years, no finish. Bourbon, I don't know. Actually, you know what? Interesting. Very interesting. I said 107. It's 105 proof. 8 year. I said 9 year. I said Heaven Hill. It's Heaven Hill. But it's a rye. It's not a weeder. So, total opposite of what I thought. And, remember I said, tastes like a weeder, tastes like Heaven Hill. And then on the palate, I'm like, doesn't taste like a weeder on the palate because the spice keeps going. So I settled on bourbon, like a wheated bourbon. It's a heavy char rye. This does make sense. So, kind of close. That's a good bottle. It's a really good bottle. All right. Man, this flight is tough. Glass D. King of Kentucky, 132. That's not right. Wow. Really? Holy shit. Wow. Look, I'm gonna stand by my guess. Like, rare character TKO, 133 proof. I said 132. My final guess. I said 14-year bourbon. This is insane. 8-year, 2-month TKO, which is a rye. Wow. Wow, that bottle's amazing. That is nothing like the TKO I have back there. This is amazing. Wow. Oh my God. That's amazing. All right. Well, I suck at blind flights. And this was a very challenging blind flight. So that is going to wrap this up. Thanks, guys. That did not taste like a rye. Not close. So that's going to do it. Thanks for hanging out tonight. Congrats to the winners of the giveaway earlier. And now I am fully saturated, and I am signing off. Park. All right, guys. Enjoy those tacos, says Toshi. Yeah, I'm feeling it. And that's it. Cheers. I will see you guys soon. Not next week, but maybe 2 weeks from now here on Drums and Drams. Thank you.